The average price of Bitcoin is $333. Antiwar.com reports that German Foreign Affairs Minister Frank-Walter Steinmeier on Saturday announced that the latest Vienna talks on Syria have decided upon bringing opposition groups in immediately with an eye towards holding elections in Syria in 18 months. This, of course, was the exact proposal Russia was expected to offer at the talks, though Steinmeier did not offer any details to go along with the plan, and the question who will be allowed to run in the elections at the end is likely to be a major obstacle. Russia's plan, at least as described in the press, was for there to be full free elections with no restrictions, but this was immediately spurned by rebel factions as well as Saudi Arabia, who are demanding that President Assad be explicitly barred from running. The notion of elections at all still seems to be outside of the expectations of a lot of the rebels, however, as many seem to be operating on the assumption that they would simply be installed as a new government by the US and its allies at some point, and have loudly opposed the idea of allowing materially anybody from existing government to remain. For nearly 40 years, Roberts & Roberts Brokerage has been a trusted source for buying and selling precious metals like gold and silver. They also take Bitcoin for precious metal purchases and have permanently removed the minimum purchase amount for all orders paid in the digital currency. Call Roberts & Roberts today for knowledgeable advice on buying and selling precious metals and a forward-thinking approach to new technologies. 800-874-9760 or visit online at rrbi.co. UPI reports the U.S. Supreme Court on Friday agreed to hear a challenge to a new Texas law that has dwindled the number of abortion clinics in the Lone Star State in what will be the High Court's first major abortion case in 8 years. The challenge takes on a Texas law passed in 2013 that has reduced the number of abortion providers in Texas from about 40 to about 10. The Texas law that has caused so many clinics to shut down mandates that abortion providers have the same standards as ambulatory surgical centers, with certain requirements for equipment, staff, and infrastructure. The challengers to the law say it will delay or prevent thousands of women from obtaining abortions and lead some to resort to unsafe or illegal methods of ending an unwanted pregnancy. The challengers' brief states there would be no licensed abortion facilities west of San Antonio. Opponents to the Texas law say the regulations are unnecessary and expensive, and some say that they were designed to weed out abortion clinics. The brief in the case, Whole Woman's Health v. Cole, adds that women's access to high-quality, evidence-based abortion should not be limited by laws enacted under the guise of patient safety, but that in fact actually harm women's health. Proponents of the law say the provisions are necessary to ensure women's health and safety. Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton believes the U.S. Supreme Court should not hear the case, saying the High Court is not qualified to become an ex officio medical board that determines national medical standards. You can support FPP Radio by joining the Fans program. Fans are friends, allies, and numerary supporters. Fans help FPP afford to produce more original content. You can join the Fans program for as little as $3 per month through Patreon and get perks like ad-free versions of FPP Radio News and Peace, Love, Liberty Radio. To learn more or to join the Fans program, visit fans.fppradio.com. That's fans.fppradio.com. Reuters reports New York, Boston, and other cities in the United States bolstered security on Friday night after deadly gun and bomb attacks on civilians in Paris, but law enforcement officials said the beefed-up police presence was precautionary rather than a response to any specific threat. The New York Police Department said officers from its Counterterrorism Response Command and other special units were deployed in areas frequented by tourists and at the French consulate in Manhattan. The NYPD did not say how many extra officers were sent to guard the areas of concern, nor did it specify the areas where the extra officers were sent. New York Governor Andrew Cuomo said he directed state law enforcement officials to monitor the Paris situation for any implications for New York State and to remain in constant communication with their local and federal partners. Security has also been beefed up at National Basketball Association and National Football League games. This has been FPP Radio News, online at fppradio.com.
This week, the Forest Service rolled out a brand new Smokey the Bear campaign in which the popular mascot burns to death. They say they hope the shocking turn will get people serious about preventing forest fires for once. The new campaign depicts Smokey the Bear noticing a family leave a flame unattended. Before he can put it out, the entire forest is consumed and Smokey dies in agony while trying to fight the blaze. Despite educating the public for over 70 years, the Forest Service says wildfires have only gotten worse and it was time to take their warnings to the next level. The new ads aim to show that if Smokey the Bear can be killed by the very type of fire he works so tirelessly to prevent, it could happen to anyone at any time. So what's next for the long-running campaign? Well, now that their primary spokesperson is out of the picture, the Ad Council says the PSAs will shift focus to a new character named Little Brian. He's the boy whose family caused the fire in the first place, and he's grappling with crippling guilt over Smokey's death.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
It's Free Talk Live. You can join us here. Our toll-free number for you is 855-450-FREE. Live Sunday edition. We'll give you our Skype username here in a few moments. It's Ian and Mark in the studio with you here tonight. And, of course, France is still on a lot of people's minds. We didn't get to a story last night. We're loaded with your calls and thoughts, and that's the way we like it here on Free Talk Live. But
that's what it's about.
Yeah, but we do bring things to the table to discuss, and this story is from QZ.com in relation to the terror attacks in France on Friday night. This story is about Muslims around the world condemning terrorism after the Paris attacks. You know, you hear this by some of the critics, like on Fox News or whatever, like, why aren't the Muslims condemning these attacks? Well, maybe it's because you're not putting them on the air.
No, you hear it on this show.
Yeah.
People will call in and literally say that. And, I mean, you can show them YouTube video after YouTube video after YouTube video of people, of Muslims condemning this. But, you know, I mean, there's these horrifying videos of people, like, dancing in the street when the towers fall and these sorts of things. And this is ultimately... I mean, it's a consequence of a foreign policy that's been failing for decades.
Yep, absolutely true. So the attacks in Paris that have killed more than 100 people, turned out to be like more than 120, have sparked a cycle of blame and outrage that has become depressingly familiar, writes QZ.com's Heather Timmons. Not much is known about the terrorists at this point except for the fact that the ones directly involved are all dead, but early reports that the terrorists were speaking about France's presence in Syria, that one yelled Allahu Akbar before opening fire in a crowded concert hall, and ISIL supporters' use of the hashtag Paris Burns to spread the news led many to conclude the attackers were Muslim. The attacks have started a new round of condemnation of Islam itself from longtime right-wing critics. Muslims around the world, from religious leaders and politicians to ordinary people, meanwhile, are condemning the attacks. In an official statement, Iranian President Hassan Rouhani called the attacks a crime against humanity. Indonesian President Joko Widodo condemned the, quote, violence that took place in Paris and called for more international cooperation to fight terrorism. Leaders of Arab states called the attacks immoral and inhumane. Qatar's foreign minister denounced the heinous attacks, adding that these acts, which target stability and security in France, are against all human and moral values. Kuwaiti Emir Sheikh Sabah al-Sabah called the attacks criminal acts of terrorism which run counter to all teachings of holy faith and humanitarian values. The Saudi Foreign Ministry called for global cooperation to root out this dangerous and destructive plague. Now, unfortunately, a lot of these ideas are going to result in more of the terrorism, like the continued strikes by the French military against targets in Syria, apparently happening very, very recently.
But these are
this.
Muslim.
These are Muslim people.
Yeah, Muslim. Well, they're mostly Muslim leaders. You know, they're governmental leaders, and they don't support this. So the suggestion that we bomb Islam, which I've heard. I don't know exactly how you bomb a religion. I assume that means let's kill somewhere between 1.5 and 2 million people.
Yeah, your bombs aren't going to discriminate on the basis of religion.
Yeah, it's also going to kill the minorities there, the Christians, the whatever else is in that area.
You got to break a few eggs, Mark, to
and God
make
knows what it does to the land in that area for a very long time. Does it make it impossible to go and drill the oil and work the resources? It sounds horrifying. It sounds like you know what it is? It's a war crime on a scale that would make pale Hitler.
So some took to social media, including a British imam, saying, "I'm a British imam and I condemn these barbaric attacks. I pray to God for all the victims and their families." From Mansour Ahmad Clark. British author Aisha Malik said this on Twitter, quote, "Gunmen were heard shouting Allah Akbar, but I did the same tonight in my room, praying for those killed and their families." Isn't Allah Akbar, glory be to God?
Yeah, God is great.
God is great.
Same thing.
A young Moroccan man used YouTube to express his deepest condolences to the victims of the Parisian attacks and called the terrorists un-Islamic. He says they don't represent Islam. These so-called jihadists and fundamentalists only represent themselves. The video is just a few hours old, but hundreds of people have already commented on it, many in the form of anti-Islamic rants.
A lot of people are angry. I saw I think a soldier or a veteran, this woman suggesting that we invade Dearborn, Michigan.
Because there's a lot of people who are
Muslim there, yeah.
From a professor of Islamic studies in North America, Ingrid Mattson, quote, "Terrorists terrify people. That's what they do. What will we do? Help people, respect people, comfort people, protect all people." From Egypt, another tweet from Zahra Muhammad. Prophet Muhammad ordered us not to harm anyone, and anyone is doing the opposite isn't a Muslim. Muslims aren't terrorists is the hashtag there. Another one from Mohammedan Thriyama. "We Muslims all over the world disassociate ourselves from the terrorist attacks in Paris." A tweet from Twitter. Ali Aden writes, "How many times do we keep on reminding you about this Quran versus ISIS?" And a moment of dark humor. I'm not sure what that one is. After the attacks on the Charlie Hebdo offices in Paris earlier this year, dozens of mosques in France were attacked and Muslim-owned businesses threatened. Today's terror attack may spawn another wave of anti-Muslim violence. So there's a few Muslims chiming in here saying, hey, this is not an Islamic thing.
Well, you can't. How many more can you put in the story? I mean, what they list, more than a dozen?
There's a lot more that are out there than they included here, obviously. Let's go to your calls and thoughts. Our toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. Do you get it? Muslims are different. They're individuals. They have, differing beliefs. And most of them are peaceful people. There's, more than 1 billion of them out there in the world?
Certainly more than 1 billion.
If they were violent, we'd see a hell of a lot more violence on the part of Muslims than we currently do. So let's go to Carl, listening in New Jersey to WPG. Hello, Carl.
Hi, how you doing? How does it help France dropping 22 bombs in northern Syria on ISIS training camps? Does that protect their people in France? I don't see it how it does.
It doesn't. It puts them in jeopardy.
Right. It makes the terrorists more angry. But see, they need to. I guess they got to keep the ones coming in from coming into France with their bombs. They can blow up people. And here's another thing. Why don't they allow the citizens in France to, conceal carry or readily be able to buy weapons to protect themselves? Here in New Jersey, we can't do it either.
Yeah.
I mean, you can get weapons, but it's tough. And
New Jersey's right for a terror attack. Yeah. If you think about it.
Absolutely. We're not even allowed to protect ourselves in our homes. We got to go to the deepest part of the house if somebody breaks in.
Wow, you have to retreat, in New Jersey?
Yeah, you have to retreat in your own home. Right. And plus, difficult to buy weapons, fingerprints. You got to have people vouch for you, like questions. Do you think they're going to overthrow our government? In the old days, I'd say no, but I'm not so sure now.
Yeah, I think that when you look at places like New Jersey, you're probably,
right.
I mean, it's reasonable to think that somebody who might be doing a burglary or something like that can assume that they're breaking into a house that doesn't have somebody who's armed in it, and that's probably going to make them more bold. It sounds like people have to huddle down in the basement with a steak knife in order to protect themselves.
Right, and you should have your weapons locked up in a safe, really. Oh, wait a minute, burglar, I got to open up my safe, put the bullets in the gun, and can you hold on?
Yeah, that's going to work.
It's ridiculous.
Hey, Carl, thanks for sharing your thoughts.
Okay, thanks.
I appreciate it, man. Our toll-free number, if you want to join us, is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733.
They'd have some pretty good fast-opening safes, don't they? I mean, I don't know much about this.
They do.
But, I mean, I'm sure they're expensive, which just drives up the cost and says that basically only middle-class and upper-class people can defend themselves.
There's a good reason to have security on guns if you've got, small children or, friends of your small children that are coming over to the house. But if you're just a couple, an adult couple or a single person, then why do you need to have security around your gun? You shouldn't. You should just be able to put it next to your bed or wherever it is you want to put it.
A lot of times they'll count in the gun violence numbers, they'll count suicides. And I kind of feel like that's an unfair number. Like obviously the person who wants to kill themselves can get into the safe.
So apparently there have been more French jets bombing ISIS targets or alleged ISIS targets in Syria as of today. We can share the details on that. If you want to get on the air with us, though, please do. Our toll-free number, 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. And you can join us on Skype. Our Skype username is lrn.fm.
DVD, books, music, instruments, periodicals, computers, software, electronics, photo, cell phones, office products, home and garden, bed and bath, furniture, kitchen, pet supplies, automotive, hardware, apparel, shoes, jewelry, grocery, healthcare, sports and outdoors, toys, games, used, and more.
It's a department store at your fingertips. Shop.freetalklive.com. Get all your shopping done, get a great deal, and a portion of your purchase goes to benefit Free Talk Live when you enter Amazon via shop.freetalklive.com.
Here's a good idea. When you have a legal matter like creating your will or legally setting up a business with a corporation or LLC, you don't necessarily need a law firm. Use LegalZoom.com. At LegalZoom.com, you answer straightforward questions online, and they take care of the rest. They even review your answers for common mistakes and guarantee your satisfaction. Free Talk Live listeners, you'll get 10% off your order by typing in FTL in the referral box at purchase. Don't procrastinate with these important legal documents. LegalZoom.com.
Don't take a cold or flu lying down. Stand up and fight back with Supernatural Silver. Supernatural Silver is a natural immune system booster that is highly effective against viruses, bacteria, and fungus. Supernatural Silver is perfect for daily use and can be taken orally or used topically to keep you protected from whatever comes your way. This new technology is hundreds of times more effective than colloidal or ionic silver and is supported by extensive research from over 300 clinical studies at universities and independent research facilities across the country. Supernatural Silver has an exceptionally long storage life and should be an essential part of your emergency preparedness. Don't be caught off guard. Give your body the support it needs to fight off deadly pathogens that are lurking everywhere. Stock up on Supernatural Silver and give yourself and your loved ones a fighting chance. Go to supernaturalsilver.com and use the promo code SILVER2015 for 20% off. That's supernaturalsilver.com. Supernaturalsilver.com.
You can't win if you don't enter, and you actually can improve your chances of winning a prize drawing if you wrinkle up your entry blank. I'm Holland Cook from survivalspeech.com, and I speak from experience. Why this works: if they'll be spinning the drum before drawing, your entry blank will move around more than, and not adhere to, other perfectly flat entry blanks. And if they don't spin the drum and merely reach into a box full of other perfectly flat entry blanks, many of which are sticking together, yours will feel different to the person reaching in. When you win, act surprised. And if you're looking for work, this is a metaphor. For more tips on sticking out in a world where just too much blends into the blah, 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 hit survivalspeech.com. I'm Holland Cook.
The three most important things you can do for Free Talk Live are: 1, share one episode a week on Facebook or in some other social networking site. 2, buy the things you buy online through shop.freetalklive.com. 3, give $5 a month to the AMP program. You likely buy all kinds of things online. Amazon is the largest online retailer. You can get what you need at the same prices with free Super Saver shipping by going to shop.freetalklive.com. Please do your online shopping at shop.freetalklive.com.
This is your Roberts & Roberts Brokerage Daily Precious Metals Update. In early trading Friday, gold is off $4 at $1,083 per ounce. Silver is down 7 cents at $14.28 per ounce. Bitcoin is trading at $332 US. Silver seems like a real bargain now, the lowest it's been in 6 years. Get some silver. Call Roberts & Roberts Brokerage today at 800-874-9760 or visit us online at rrbi.co.
Do you love Twitter? Make sure you favorite the LRN.FM Twitter account so you can receive our tweets at twitter.lrn.fm. That's twitter.lrn.fm.
This is Free Talk Live, the live Sunday edition. Continuing, you can join us here. Our toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. We've got all kinds of features on our website. Please head over there to enjoy freetalklive.com. You get to create the content there on the front page. We've redesigned the site here for 2015. It looks great, and hopefully it's easier to use than ever before. So head on over to freetalklive.com. Get interactive there. It's totally free. Once again, that's freetalklive.com. And if we get the chance, we'll share a story from the front page of the site as voted on and submitted by listeners just like you. But we're going to the phones and your thoughts first. So actually, we're going to federal prison in Seagoville, Texas, where Gary is on the line. Hello, Gary.
Hello, Ian. How you doing tonight?
Well, just fine. Go ahead with your thoughts.
Okay. A few months ago, I filed suit against the United States Congress for violations of Article 5, which call for a constitutional convention once at least 34 states have requested one.
Yes.
And after doing research, I found that there were 49 states that have requested one. So I filed suit, and I've heard nothing back from the court. This last week, I get a letter from a disinterested third party, a Montgomery Sibley, who some of you may remember him as the attorney who represented the D.C. Madam years ago.
Okay.
And he writes to me telling me my case was dismissed, and his was he had filed a similar one, too, that was being dismissed. And actually, he's going back to Superior Court. So I had called the court, and what I found out is I only have a couple of days to appeal the reason for dismissing. The court come back and says I, as an ordinary citizen, cannot sue Congress to state that they've violated the Constitution.
No standing.
Interesting.
Ron Paul had sued Congress for a reason. I can't remember what it was some time ago, and it was dismissed for standing also. I just wonder who has standing. If Congress is supposed to represent you, exactly who has standing to sue Congress?
Well, here's the interesting thing. We have a law library here, computer, that has all cases all the way back to 1700s, and I've been doing a lot of research, and I've found cases that I am able to sue in a state's name against Congress because I, as a sovereign citizen of a state, can invoke the power of the state. I'm from Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania has made numerous requests for convention, so that's where my standing comes from. In addition, I've gone all the way back to 1803, and that case is still good case law that says the federal courts are the place to challenge the illegal or legal actions of Congress.
Yeah, where else would it be?
Exactly. So the court is playing dirty pool here because, first of all, I haven't even received notification that my case has been docketed. They've gone completely silent on me.
And you had to receive a call, random contact from some attorney who somehow knew that your case was dismissed, even though you didn't even know it was docketed in the first place.
Correct. I got a letter in the mail on Thursday saying, oh, by the way, this happened. And I'm like, oh, really? Fortunately, my unit team here gave me a phone call to the court, and I called the court, and they're like, well, yeah, this was done October 28th, and you've got 28 days to, appeal it back to the judge. And unfortunately, you can't extend the time on that, so the court was just waiting for the time to run out. And that way I'd be stuck.
Sounds like the fix is in. I mean, what's your plan here?
Well, my plan is to come back and actually tell the court, say, look, I do have standing based on the fact that I'm a Pennsylvania citizen and I'm invoking the power of the state for the state to sue the federal to Congress. That gives me my standing. Because if it doesn't give me standing, then let's turn this into a class action. Because how many people will it take for the courts to recognize, hey, there's something here.
Well, if one person doesn't have standing, then they're not going to rule that 100 people will have standing.
No, but maybe 1,000 people do. Maybe 10,000
I doubt it.
people do.
I don't know if there's a legal principle that would allow 1,000 people to sue for something that one person can't do. That doesn't make any sense.
But invoking the power of the state, that may be the trick.
Because, I wish you the best with this, man.
Yeah, I want you to succeed so badly at this. But
right.
Is there anything that anybody can do besides be ready for a class action?
Not really. I'm just kind of, like I said, the next step is to invoke, like I said, the power of the state. And there is case law on that. There's a lot of case law, especially it goes back to the railroad times when people were trying to negotiate like bridging rights and stuff like that.
I'm glad they get you full access to a law library in there, because a lot of jails you don't have the that ability. They don't have a very good one or whatever. It's very limited. Hey, let us know how this goes. Good luck, and thanks for the update and the call tonight. I appreciate it. You got to hand it to those guys in federal prison. A lot of them are like really good with the law, and they've spent a lot of time on it because they've got plenty of time to spend.
Indeed. I suspect that's the reason.
So you can join us here. The Constitutional Convention, there's a lot that could happen at something like that. It could be a good thing. It could be a bad thing.
Well, what's the bad thing? Because I think.
Well, let's say they go in and gut the Bill of Rights. I mean, that's what they've already done it by default anyway. So let's say they codify gutting the Bill of Rights.
Okay, but the Constitutional Convention, and I'm happy to go over this as many times as we need to.
Yeah.
Constitutional conventions do not automatically take effect.
They need approval from the states.
3/4 of the states.
Okay.
So are 3/4 of the states going to say, "Hey, let's just get rid of that whole freedom of speech thing"? And it doesn't seem like they're willing to do that.
Yes, I would hope not.
They'll let the federal government and state governments infringe upon it as time goes by and erode it, but they won't say
they won't come right out and
let's get rid of it. So I think that pretty much anything.
But maybe they'll change the wording that'll give them more power. I mean, who knows?
I suppose, but then you have to get it through 3/4 of the states. Remember, it isn't going to be Democrats. It isn't going to be Republicans. I don't trust either of them, mind you. But and when you see a change to the Constitution, people are going to sit up and take notice. People that don't normally pay attention are going to pay attention to something like that. So I generally think it's a good thing, and I generally think some very populist notions are what is going to get through. I don't know what they are, but it would have to go through essentially something that 75% of the people agree on. I suspect term limits is one of those things. Maybe getting. I'll bet you can get most people to agree on something like maybe the fair tax or something like that. Some tax that isn't as invasive as the current IRS forms.
Yeah, I guess they could repeal the 16th Amendment or whatever, or modify that, which justified the creation of the IRS, right?
Yeah.
So toll-free number tonight for you, 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. You can also join us on Skype. That's where Father Rothbard is calling from Somalia. You're on Free Talk Live.
Hey, guys. How's it going?
Hey, what's on your mind tonight?
Hey, dude. I was just wondering, did either of you guys see Ronda Rousey fight last night, the UFC fighter?
No, this is a lady who made some headlines recently. I forget what for. What was she opposing?
I think she's a pretty good fighter. She's pretty, and I think she endorsed Bernie Sanders.
Oh, yikes!
Yeah. So, yeah, we all know how that works. But I just really like to commend Ronda Rousey because, she stands up for what she believes in. She's outspoken. She's very well spoken. She's pretty. She has a very large audience, and she's just not scared to, speak her mind and endorse, whoever she wants to endorse. And she came out and, with the endorsement for Bernie Sanders. And then, she stuck to her principles, stuck to her values. And last night she redistributed the belt, to the new champion. And I just wish we could see more of this, from different
more people
parties.
living up to their values.
Exactly.
Thanks, Father Rothbard. It's Free Talk Live. Join us.
Paid non-attorney spokesperson Adam Pulaski of the Pulaski Law Firm with principal office in Houston, Texas is the attorney responsible for the content of this ad. This ad is not legal advice, and the choice of a lawyer should not be based solely upon advertisement. Services may not be available in all states.
Attention Xarelto users. If you or a loved one took Xarelto and suffered a serious bleeding event, you may be entitled to financial compensation. Xarelto is a popular prescription blood thinner used to prevent blood clots and protect patients from strokes. These serious bleeding events have led to numerous cases of hospitalization and even death. Phone lines are open 24/7. Call 800-261-0937. That's 800-261-0937.
If you or someone you care about loves outdoor adventure, then check out slingbow.com for some unique holiday gift ideas. That's slingbow.com, where we have some innovative new products for the archer, hunter, or bow fishing enthusiast in your family. Now through January, use the promo code HOLIDAY to get free shipping in the U.S. or Canada. And from all of us at Slingbow Industries, have a safe, joyous, and peaceful holiday season.
Free Talk Live.
The TSA increasing the invasiveness of their pat downs. They're no longer going to use the back sides of their hands. They're going to be touching
Now
you.
they're going to be grabbing it full
That's
on.
right, all over. And
what is their justification for this? I've heard this, but
that's
I
all the
haven't.
terrorism that's been happening. That
But why do they have to use the front of their hands now?
Well,
was there an event? Did they use a certain event where something got through that they would have felt if they'd used the front of their hands instead of the back of their hands?
They just want to encourage you to go through the new sniffing device.
What's going to be their explanation when they have to use their penis to pat you down? What is their justification going to be then? My hands aren't sensitive enough to catch everything.
Well, it's not like you can read Braille with that thing, my friend.
So
yeah,
your lips are very sensitive. You have a lot of nerve endings in your lips. So when the hands are no longer good enough.
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern, live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
There comes a time when you need custom embroidered or screen printed apparel for your business, organization, or a special event. Corporate Casuals has been helping people create great looking logoed apparel for over 25 years. They can produce a single piece or thousands using name brand apparel like Nike, Patagonia, Adidas, and Hanes. Create your logo in their online embroidery design studio or upload your existing logo and they'll turn it into embroidery. Go to corporatecasuals.com/FTL and include FTL in the order notes and save 5% on your order.
If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com. You can get emailed announcements and participate in contests via our email updates list. Plus, we have a Twitter account that you can follow and a Facebook page where you can become a fan. So visit news.freetalklive.com to get news about Free Talk Live as soon as it's announced and the way you want it delivered at news.freetalklive.com. That's news.freetalklive.com.
Hi, I'm Derek J. To me, an activist's calling is to actively work to advance a cause. The cause for which I work is personal freedom. I believe my life is best when I engage in voluntary interactions and self-government. I reject the idea that anyone else has a higher claim to my life or my body than I do. I see people who call themselves the government as a threat to my personal freedom. I realize you may feel differently, but my relationship with the people who call themselves the government is completely involuntary. If Starbucks used some of its money to drop bombs, I wouldn't shop there. So why would I support the American empire? The empire does not require my consent.
Derek J's Victimless Crime Spree. Watch it for free and order the Director's Cut DVD at victimlesscrimespree.com. That's victimlesscrimespree.com.
Listen to LRN.FM on any phone, anytime. 213-493-0309. That's 213-493-0309.
It's Free Talk Live, live Sunday edition of the program. You can join us here. Oh, there's someone on the line there. We're going to get to him in a moment. And, Sunday edition, toll-free number 855-450-3733. We've also got Skype, and you can Skype into the show here tonight. Skype username LRN.FM. With you tonight, you've got Ian.
And Mark.
Mark, Purse. You can go to saveatpurse.com. Want to save big time? We've been doing it. You've been doing it at your family's house.
Yeah, we
What's
buy
a
a lot of
purchase?
things.
What's a recent purchase on saveatpurse.com?
My wife is just about getting everything there.
Really?
Just about everything. And boxes from Amazon show up a few times a week.
Wow.
So I wouldn't be able to say. We got I'm going to say the name wrong. We got a Gramble. A Garamble. It is a metal device that looks like a hanger, only made out of really thick metal, from which one hangs a pig or a dead animal.
Wow.
Yes.
You really can get everything at Amazon.
Yeah.
But you don't.
I should have got the double pulley setup thing because I used it today, and yeah, a grown man cannot pull a grown pig off the ground with a single pulley.
SaveAtPurse.com, SaveAtPurse.com. You save 20% on Amazon, easy. You can save 30% relatively easily, and 40% it might take you a little while. You have to basically wait the longer the amount of savings that you request. You get to choose your discount, and you can reselect it at any time. So let's say you put something up for 40%, it doesn't go within a week or a few days. You lower it to 30%, and then it might go really fast. You never know. But generally, when I put something up for 20 to 25%, it goes within two hours of putting it up there. So if you've got a little bit of patience, you can save a lot of money. Go to SaveAtPurse.com. You have to have Bitcoin to make this happen. This is a big reason to get Bitcoin if you don't already have it. SaveAtPurse.com. As we go and continue with your calls and thoughts, we've got Michael Dean on the line from the Freedom Fiends via Skype. Hello, Michael.
Hello.
Hey, what's on your mind?
I need some crowdsourcing help to maybe help Scott Horton break a story. I was watching CNN with my wife about hour and a half, 2 hours ago, and there was a piece about the Paris terror attacks and France's lightning fast hammer of Thor response to it. France went over and bombed some things in Syria. They said ISIS training camps, ISIS stronghold, ISIS jail, and something else, ISIS, makeshift hospital. I was like,
we killed a bunch of ISIS's prisoners.
I was like, ISIS jail? Yeah, I mean that's a bunch of people who were caught drinking and smoking and showing their ankles, And I tweeted about it, and all of a sudden people were saying like, I can't find that anywhere online. And I don't think it was my tweet. I think it was France realized, that's bad PR, and they scrubbed it. And I found
they scrubbed what? Just the part about the jail?
Yes, just the part about the jail. I found the footage on CNN.com. Same lady talking. My wife and I both remember this. The lady talking on screen and the crawl mentioned ISIS jail as a target. Same footage is up there now. It's gone.
Wow.
So if anybody saw that, I think there's a huge breaking story there of a cover-up by the media. If anybody has a screenshot of it or video or audio or even saw it, tweet to Scott Horton and I, whatever you have.
How do you tweet to Scott Horton? What is it, at Scott Horton?
It's Scott at Scott Horton, and I'm at Freedom Fiends.
Perfect. Maybe somebody out there's got that. Anything else, Michael?
Nope. Keep it up. Good work there. Yeah, man.
Thanks for the call, brother.
Thank you for your
Appreciate
service.
it.
Bye.
Yep. We're doing our best here. And you can join us. The toll-free number, 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. Skype username here is LRN.FM. Here is that story, not from CNN, but the ABC News version of it. French jets began bombing ISIS targets in eastern Syria tonight. So this is tonight, fresh breaking news here. According to, well, not breaking. I mean, it was tonight in Syria several hours ago.
Breaking
anyway,
for us.
Yeah, for us, it's new. According to France's defense ministry, because that's defense, right? When you go and you attack other countries, it's defense.
Yeah. It's a good thing they called it that. Well, they can always say that they attacked us first, but of course it really just overlooks the fact that France has been in that area conducting missions. This is war, and this is what happens. I don't support ISIS by any stretch of the imagination here, but I'll bet you there have been some innocent people that have been caught up in these bombings that have gone on by the French Air Force. I'm just willing to say that, sometimes when you drop a bomb out of the sky, innocent people die. And it's a lot easier and a lot cleaner when there aren't, a bunch of journalists there to catch it. But that's what's happening. If a family dies and there isn't a journalist there to report it, did it really happen? Yes, it did.
So it started, the bombing, this most recent bombing, started after the country's national police launched an international manhunt for a supposedly dangerous suspect wanted for involvement in the Paris attacks. French Ministry of Defense said it targeted a command post and a terrorist training camp, so they don't mention the jail in this particular story, dropping 20 bombs on ISIS's de facto capital in Raqqa, Syria. The first target included a command post, jihadist recruiting center, and a weapons warehouse, according to the ministry. 10 French fighter jets were launched simultaneously from the United Arab Emirates and Jordan in an operation carried out in coordination with the U.S. military's command. according to the French Defense Ministry. Activists in Raqqa tweeted that power and water had been cut off after the airstrikes. Now, this is going to really make the people of Syria happy, right? I mean, these people in Raqqa who are being occupied by the folks in ISIS, because you can better believe not everyone in Raqqa agrees with ISIS taking over their town.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, who knows how many innocent people died in these bombings. But beyond that, even if no innocent people died, now there's no water that's easily accessible, and that's a problem. That can cause real issues for people
Lots
not
of people are
having
going to
water.
die because of that.
So, this might just, you think, this kind of thing, bombings, destroying the water supply, that might lead some people in Raqqa to maybe join up with ISIS. The enemy of my enemy is my friend.
I don't know if water, it would...
Bombings, mostly.
Yeah.
The bombings of innocent people.
Right. If I would suspect if, for whatever reason, like a foreign country kills some loved one, some family member, some close friend, and it would be, I don't think people really begin to care at that point. They're going to start accepting the narrative of the other side. It's going to make one very sympathetic to the opposing side. If
when it's ISIS who restores your power, when it's ISIS who fixes the water supply or whatever, that's going to change how people feel.
Right. If, I just, there's lots of people that disagree, whether they're Muslim or Christian or whatever. They happen to be living behind ISIS lines.
Unfortunately, the guys who run the governments of the world, the U.S. government, the French government, the ISIS people, they all believe that violence solves problems. And so just hours after the French attacks, you've got more bombings happening in Syria, which according to witnesses in France, prior to the attacks starting, some of the attackers shouted things about, "This is for Syria." So it's very clearly related to the bombings that France committed in Syria previously, earlier in the week. Now they're doing the exact same thing. It's just going to gin up more violence in France, and eventually you're going to see more of it in the United States. It's just going to take longer. It's a little harder to coordinate that kind of thing.
I guess a question I want to ask is: do we think these the terrorist folks, I would say the higher echelon ones that are sort of sending people on missions, do we think they're stupid?
No,
because if we think they're stupid, then the best thing to do is to attack them. Because if we don't think they're stupid, I think that the suggestion would be that they would know if they attack France, France is going to come by and they're going to bomb a bunch of available targets in the ISIS territory. Mm-hmm. Doesn't that make sense? Doesn't that seem like the most likely outcome from this? Now, I don't know. I'm not here to suggest, what the long term is going to be. Maybe I'm just not smart enough for that. I don't know the answer. But I can tell you that people have posited, those in Al-Qaeda have said that they won their war against the United States because they robbed them of their freedoms. And that's what it was supposed to be all about, to some extent. Well, now Americans are petrified and robbed of their freedoms. I don't know how many more France can get taken from it.
Our toll-free number here, 855-450-FREE. Well, they can have a total police state and lockdown, basically military commanding everywhere and tanks in the streets. That would make things less free. It's Free Talk Live.
Every once in a while, you get information that's worth changing your life for. This is one such time. You can save up to and beyond 25% on all purchases at Amazon. You probably heard of Bitcoin and just not thought much about it. You certainly know that you can get competitive pricing at Amazon, but now you can get a 25% discount on nearly everything you need to live. I've just given you a huge raise, and all you have to do is claim it. You go to saveitpurse.com and open an account. Do this right now. Don't wait. Then you fund the account with Bitcoin. You can buy them through expresscoin.com with a check or money order. There are other ways to get Bitcoin, but that's fast, safe, and easy. This information is worth you changing the way you do things. Go to saveitpurse.com right now, get signed up, and cash in on the huge raise I'm offering you. 15 to 25% off of everything at Amazon through saveitpurse.com. It's saveatpurse.com.
My name is Dell, and I live in El Cajon, California. I was concerned about my cholesterol readings because I knew that high cholesterol is related to clogging of the arteries and increases the risk for heart attack and stroke. One day, I heard an ad for Heart and Body Extract, and I was skeptical, but I decided to give it a try. Man, the numbers don't lie.
Learn the secrets of an effective, natural, 100% organic nutritional supplement for a healthy heart and circulation at hbextract.com.
Hi, I'm Dr. Sam Nussbaum with the Anthem Foundation. Premature birth is the leading cause of death of babies and disabilities for children. That's why we support the March of Dimes to help mothers have full-term pregnancies and healthy babies. Join us in supporting cutting-edge research, treatment and outreach to help moms during their pregnancy and give every baby a healthy start in life. Learn how you can help at marchofdimes.org.
This alert just came in. This special announcement is for business owners and leaders of organizations who've been waiting for the right time to build. General Steel has made it impossible to wait any longer with rock-bottom prices that could save you thousands. That's right, General Steel, America's leader in pre-engineered structures, is offering buildings at prices you will never see again. Don't miss these prices. A 50 by 100 for under $30,000. You heard right. That's 5,000 square feet under $30,000. Manufacturers, if you need a larger building, try a 100 by 100 commercial building for $129,000. You can't afford to rent with these prices. Imagine a 70 by 100 foot church building for under $69,000. With the economy improving and interest rates still at historic lows, you can't afford to wait.
Call 800-917-8251. 800-917-8251. 800-917-8251.
Here's a chance to do a little activism while you're cruising Facebook, Twitter, or Google+. Between the LOL cats, the recipes, the hot girls, and the inspirational sunrise memes, Free Talk Live's posts pass by your newsfeed. Like them, comment. It gives us more exposure. If you don't see our posts, click like at facebook.freetalklive.com and then hover over it to click Get Notifications. It's an easy way to spread the ideas of liberty a bit further. I know you're busy, but you can spare that tenth of a calorie it takes to click on something. facebook.freetalklive.com.
Cryptocurrency and peer-to-peer tech developments happen fast. Stay in the loop with the Daily Decrypt, a new video channel and podcast that will keep you on top of the latest innovations in crypto finance, security, networking, transportation, and gadgetry like drones and 3D printers. Subscribe to the Daily Decrypt on YouTube and SoundCloud and be an early adopter of the future. The Daily Decrypt.
If you enjoy LRN.FM, please contribute to your favorite shows via their websites and become an amplifier at amp.lrn.fm. That's amp.lrn.fm.
This is Free Talk Live, live Sunday edition here. You can join us. Our toll-free number for you is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733.
I'm excited about this graphic novel that's coming out. It's called James versus the New World Order. And it is, it's a story about a loser who has to save his sleepy little town from a bizarre occult army calling itself the Trust. I know the guy who's putting it together, Brandon Bitros, and then it's going to be illustrated by J. Matthew Root, and I'm excited to see it. It's estimated to be a 5-volume, 24-issue series, and what I did is I went over to their Kickstarter, and I kicked in because I wanted to get the first 2 issues. You can get them at a discount now if you pre-order, and that's what I intended to do. So I'd like to extend that offer to you. They've got until Wednesday for their Kickstarter. So all you have to do is go over to jamesversusthenewworldorder.com. James vs thenewworldorder.com, and just buy their you pre-order, and as a result you'll get the first 2 issues. I think it's pretty awesome. James vs thenewworldorder.com.
Let's go to your calls and thoughts. Vincent is in New Jersey. You're on Free Talk Live. Hey, Vincent.
Hi, good evening.
Hey, you're listening to WVNJ. Go ahead.
Thanks for taking my call. I appreciate it. I started listening to your show yesterday for the first time. I desperately tried to call in. I was unable to, so I'm happy I got through tonight.
Oh, yeah, it's a lot easier to call on Sunday than Saturday night. Glad you tried again. Go ahead.
Yeah, I have to say, listening to you guys, I agree with so much of what you say on one hand, and I so sharply disagree on the other.
Excellent. We're doing our jobs well, then.
Friends. Yes. Now, I'm a freedom-loving person. I agree that our own government has overreached its boundaries and infiltrates the private lives of our citizens and our personal property and overtaxes us.
All right.
I think most Americans totally agree with that. But when you go as far as to say, oh, this whole United States test is a failure and let's just wrap the whole country up and start all over, well, to me that's extreme.
That's not what I said. It's close to what I said. What I said was the United States is a failure. It's a failed experiment in freedom because obviously we're not getting more free over time. So it's time to scrap it and then secession. Let's just end the United States. That doesn't mean New Hampshire would need to start over. We're still here. Everything's okay here in New Hampshire, and I wouldn't want to start this over. I wouldn't want to start this experiment over again.
There'd probably be allegiances between most of the states, right? I mean, they'd probably make agreements between each other to move things back and forth and that kind of thing, right?
I don't see any reason for an agreement. Just let people travel.
Here's what I would like to say.
Yeah.
I believe that our Constitution, the way it's constructed, our Bill of Rights is fine. What happens is we get corrupt politicians who don't follow the Constitution and violate the laws, and nobody is holding them accountable. And, of course, when the government is as powerful as it is, it makes the average citizen feel helpless or rendered helpless to
How
fight
do you
that.
hold them accountable?
What is the punishment for violating the Constitution for somebody, some person who works for the government?
Well, that's the problem.
That is the problem with the Constitution. It should have said we'll lop their heads off on Central Square or on the mall in Washington, D.C. I mean, honestly, this is the document that you're defending. It has no teeth.
Well, okay, but
I mean, a law is no law unless it has a punishment, right? You walk across the street when the light's not the right color, you have to spend 30 days in jail or pay a $150 fine. You violate the Constitution, it says nothing because it was intended to be violated from the beginning.
Well, I hope you're wrong about that. That's pretty sad.
Then what you're doing is you're holding up the Founding Fathers as though they're some kind of very special individuals, when what they were was politicians grabbing for power.
Well, I hope that's not correct.
I hope that they rewrite a constitution that has a punishment for violating it, because what I've seen is more than 200 years of violations.
You claim to be a freedom lover. This is the freest country on the planet.
Wrong.
Nope.
Sorry about that.
Nope. I'm surprised you still believe that one.
Tell me the better country then.
There's about a dozen.
Hold on, you've just moved the goalpost.
Yep, there's about a
dozen.
You
asked me what the freest country was on the. You claimed to have the freest country, and then you said, "Well, tell me which country's better." I'm not going to claim to know which country's better, because better is far more subjective than free. You can quantify free. You can say free trade. You can look at economic policies. You can look at social policies, and you can see which ones are freer.
And they do that in a couple of studies every single year. There's one by the Cato Institute and I believe the Fraser Institute, and then there's another one by the Heritage Foundation. They do their own study. So these are U.S.-based organizations. So
and the U.S. doesn't come in on number one on any of them.
It doesn't even come in the top 10 in these studies, man. Number one,
Canada's
Hong Kong.
Freer. And it didn't have to fight a revolutionary war.
In both of the studies, the number one and number two countries are always the same. It's not Canada. It's Hong Kong, followed by Singapore.
That's economically free. Singapore's a really socially dismal place to live.
Well, that's what they're looking at is economic freedom.
That's on the two tests. One of them includes social, and Singapore's not at the top of the
really?
list.
Okay. But yeah, whether you look at economic or social freedoms, the United States is not in the top 10 by any study that we've seen in the last decade.
Well, I would have to do my own research on that.
Please do. Fraser Institute, Heritage Foundation, and Cato Institute. They each one just look for freedom of the world charts, and you'll find several of them, and you'll find the United States isn't in it.
And they got as much data as you want to crunch, man.
And as a freedom lover, look, I started doing this.
You're including the rights of citizens, the freedom.
Rights don't mean anything if the government doesn't respect them.
Well, I don't feel, me personally, I get up, I work when I want, I don't work when I don't want to, I'm self-employed. If I want to go to the movies or go someplace, I feel that I have plenty of freedom.
That's awesome.
I can dress how I choose within reason. And with all due respect, I'm not quite following your point.
Which point?
And I haven't traveled the world.
You called us.
That we're not a free society.
I didn't
claim it was a free. We weren't a free society. All of these charts are going to show that the United States fits in the category of free. But you said you were wanting to know which countries were freer, and we informed you.
You
of
made the claim that it was the freest country in the world. We rebutted that claim. We didn't say there weren't any freedoms here. Yes, you are more free in the United States than you would be in, say, Venezuela or Russia or North Korea.
Most countries on the planet.
Countries, yeah. So there's no doubt it's in the top 20, but it's not in the top 10.
These are the realizations that I came to after being on the show. This has been 12 years doing a libertarian radio program, and believe me, I believed all this stuff too. The average person isn't doing this research. It isn't popping up on websites because major news outlets are not, they're not going to thrill people by saying, turns out this isn't the freest country in the world.
What do you know?
And those soldiers have been dying all along who are fighting for your freedoms. Looks like they must be fighting for something else because freedom hasn't been increasing.
Okay, I'm open-minded to researching that further before
Excellent.
I draw.
Please do call back.
Us back.
I want to hear about your journey checking out this information.
Yeah, I know you're new to the show, so welcome.
I'm excited to learn when I'm wrong because I want to know. Every time that I'm mistaken, I need to be able to change my opinion and mold it to new information.
Vincent, thanks for your call tonight. We'll look forward to hearing from you again at some point if you want to continue the discussion. Appreciate it. Our toll-free number tonight for you is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. We got Justin on the line. Justin, where are you calling from in Michigan tonight?
Alpena, Michigan.
Alpena, welcome. You're on Free Talk Live. I think you're listening to, was it WATZ out there?
WZTK.
Damn it. I'm sorry. WZTK. Welcome. I didn't have my list in front of me.
I'm not really sure. That just
No, you're right. It's ZTK. It's the FM talker there. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just, in reference to the last caller, I was going to say, around the time when we did become a country and the Constitution was written, there's obviously a lot of things changed in the world. You had the French Revolution, you had the Russian Revolution, you had Adam Smith write The Wealth of Nations, you had Magna Carta, which was obviously earlier. But there was obviously a shift from monarchies to more of a lot freer of a society, and the Declaration of Independence and the Bill of Rights were all obviously better than living under the crown.
I think at the time, I would think the United States topped the charts of freest countries in the world till about the year 2000. And I'm not blaming George. What's that?
Oh, I was going to say, I kind of agreed with the other caller. I don't think that it's necessarily like a failed document. I think what everybody was going after at that time with the French Revolution and the Russian Revolution was all this step towards freedom, and I think it's been hijacked, of course. But,
okay, we can continue the discussion. Stand by, Justin and Mark. We'll get into it here.
Sounds like we're parsing terms here.
855-450-3733. The state of freedom in the United States. It's not doing so hot. It's on life support, I think, at this point. And by the way, WATZ used to be the talk station in that market, and then their programming moved to WZTK. So it was close. It's Free Talk Live. As a pioneer of the e-commerce movement, Overstock.com is proud to be the first major retailer to accept Bitcoin. Overstock was the first because Patrick Byrne, Overstock's CEO and founder, firmly believes in personal freedom and cryptocurrency. Over the past 16 years, Overstock has furnished over 18 million homes with a diverse line of products to suit everyone's unique styles and preferences. Support Overstock and freedom of choice while enjoying free shipping on orders of 0.211 Bitcoin or more.
You can control your health care with Liberty Health Share.
Liberty Health Share is like-minded people coming together to share medical costs, which saves money.
You don't even have to pay for procedures that violate your conscience.
Because we all share the same values.
Join the movement of people who share in medical costs and change the way you pay for your health care forever.
Go to libertyhealthshare.org to find out more.
Liberty Health Share.
Together, we're changing healthcare for good. libertyhealthshare.org.
The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul. With discounts for multiple book purchases, the new Healing Our World is a great gift this Christmas for the liberals, pragmatists, environmentalists, and Christians in your life who think libertarianism is cold-hearted. Get yours today at healing.freetalklive.com and use promo code FTL for a $5 discount. So you've heard all 3 hours of the latest episode of Free Talk Live, and you're still hungry for liberty-oriented audio content? Did you know that we have another 24/7 audio stream at LRN.FM? The Liberty Radio Network airs the latest episodes of some of the best liberty-oriented podcasts on the internet around the clock. In addition to recorded content, you'll also hear live shows like Free Talk Live, originating from our Keene, New Hampshire studio. So listen anytime at LRN.FM. That's LRN.FM.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 2 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Keene in the Shire, the Liberty Media capital of the world, this is Darrell W. Perry, host of FPP Radio News for Sunday, November 15th, 2015. Silver is trading at $14.26 per ounce. Gold is valued at $1,084 per ounce. And according to BitcoinAverage.com, the average price of Bitcoin is $333. Antiwar.com reports German Foreign Affairs Minister Frank-Walter Steinmeier on Saturday announced that the latest Vienna talks on Syria have decided upon bringing opposition groups in immediately with an eye towards holding elections in Syria in 18 months. This, of course, was the exact proposal Russia was expected to offer at the talks, though Steinmeier did not offer any details to go along with the plan, and the question who will be allowed to run in the elections at the end is likely to be a major obstacle. Russia's plan, at least as described in the press, was for there to be full free elections with no restrictions, but this was immediately spurned by rebel factions as well as Saudi Arabia, who are demanding that President Assad be explicitly barred from running. The notion of elections at all still seems to be outside of the expectations of a lot of the rebels. However, as many seem to be operating on the assumption that they would simply be installed as a new government by the U.S. and its allies at some point, and have loudly opposed the idea of allowing materially anybody from existing government to remain. For nearly 40 years, Roberts & Roberts Brokerage has been a trusted source for buying and selling precious metals like gold and silver. They also take Bitcoin for precious metal purchases and have permanently removed the minimum purchase amount for all orders paid in the digital currency. Call Roberts & Roberts today for knowledgeable advice on buying and selling precious metals and a forward-thinking approach to new technologies. 800-874-9760 or visit online at rrbi.co. UPI reports the U.S. Supreme Court on Friday agreed to hear a challenge to a new Texas law that has dwindled the number of abortion clinics in the Lone Star State in what will be the High Court's first major abortion case in 8 years. The challenge takes on a Texas law passed in 2013 that has reduced the number of abortion providers in Texas from about 40 to about 10. The Texas law that has caused so many clinics to shut down mandates that abortion providers have the same standards as ambulatory surgical centers with certain requirements for equipment, staff, and infrastructure. The challengers to the law say it will delay or prevent thousands of women from obtaining abortions and lead some to resort to unsafe or illegal methods of ending an unwanted pregnancy. The challengers' brief states there would be no licensed abortion facilities west of San Antonio. Opponents to the Texas law say the regulations are unnecessary and expensive, and some say that they were designed to weed out abortion clinics. The brief in the case, Whole Woman's Health v. Cole, adds that women's access to high-quality, evidence-based abortion should not be limited by laws enacted under the guise of patient safety, but that in fact actually harm women's health. Proponents of the law say the provisions are necessary to ensure women's health and safety. Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton believes the U.S. Supreme Court should not hear the case, saying the High Court is not qualified to become an ex officio medical board that determines national medical standards. You can support FPP Radio by joining the Fans program. Fans are friends, allies, and numerous supporters. Fans help FPP afford to produce more original content. You can join the Fans program for as little as $3 per month through Patreon and get perks like ad-free versions of FPP Radio News and Peace, Love, Liberty Radio. To learn more or to join the Fans program, visit fans.fppradio.com. That's fans.fppradio.com. Reuters reports New York, Boston, and other cities in the United States bolstered security on Friday night after deadly gun and bomb attacks on civilians in Paris, but law enforcement officials said the beefed-up police presence was precautionary rather than a response to any specific threat. The New York Police Department said officers from its Counterterrorism Response Command and other special units were deployed in areas frequented by tourists and at the French consulate in Manhattan. The NYPD did not say how many extra officers were sent to guard the areas of concern, nor did it specify the areas where the extra officers were sent. New York Governor Andrew Cuomo said he directed state law enforcement officials to monitor the Paris situation for any implications for New York State and to remain in constant communication with their local and federal partners. Security has also been beefed up at National Basketball Association and National Football League games. This has been FPP Radio News, online at fppradio.com.
Overburdened with material comforts, America's wealthy can expect another disappointing holiday this year. As Brian Scott tells us, the rich will simply be buying too many things to experience the true meaning of Christmas.
All across the country, those at the top of the economic ladder are denied a privilege that the poorest of the poor take for granted. Rather than fall victim to the rampant consumerism that seems to increase each year, the poor find meaningful joy in simple Christmas traditions, like singing carols to keep warm and hugging relatives who have not yet died. At stores like these, the spiritually bereft must scramble for popular holiday toys in a vain attempt to duplicate the Christmastime happiness that the impoverished enjoy.
Poor people are grateful for just a roof over their heads or something to eat. My wife and I are both lawyers, so that's not enough for us. I certainly hope poor people don't take what they don't have for granted.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
This is Free Talk Live. We're doing the live Sunday edition of the program, and you can join us here. Our toll-free number is 855-450-FREE, 855-450-3733. Perhaps you want to discuss the developing situation in Paris, where now apparently French aircraft have dropped 20 bombs. 20 more bombs, because there were already bombing raids apparently earlier this week that likely prompted the attacks on Friday night in Paris. At least six coordinated, simultaneous, basically, attacks that happened on Friday night.
Some of the terrorists are quoted as, one of the terrorists is quoted as saying, "This is for Syria."
This is for Syria, meaning in relation to the French government bombing folks over in Syria. Well, they just bombed some more people in Syria tonight, including what they claim was a command post, jihadist recruiting center, and a weapons warehouse. But as Michael Dean called in to point out, they apparently also bombed a jail that ISIS is running there. Wouldn't that hurt the people who could possibly help in the fight against ISIS to bomb a jail?
Seems like a bad idea.
And then the allegation was...
It's a nice target that you can hit, though. Like, yeah. I know this is here, let's go hit it.
And then the allegation was further that the news media, once it was brought to their attention that they'd bomb this jail and that would be likely full of innocent people who ISIS was trying to prosecute for all kind of non-crimes, that they then scrubbed that from the news report. And he was asking for people who'd seen evidence of the original report reporting that it was a jail that was attacked to send a message to Scott Horton. And apparently he gave the wrong Scott Horton Twitter address. Instead of @Scott Horton, it's @Scott Horton Show. So Scott Horton Show is Scott Horton's Twitter feed. We also just had a gentleman on the line from Michigan. He unfortunately dropped off during the news. But, Mark, he had brought up the idea that, or we were discussing earlier, the idea the Constitution is a failed document.
Right, and this isn't a new concept at all. Lysander Spooner wrote in his letters to Grover Cleveland.
The 1800s.
Yeah, about the 1880s, with Grover Cleveland over his the federal government coming in and stopping him from competing with the U.S. Mail Service. He said that, look, either the Constitution is powerless to stop these overreaches of the federal government, or it's authorized them. And
one or the other.
You have to ask yourself this. Look, I am not sworn to protect the Constitution simply because I happen to be born on a piece of ground. So the argument that the Constitution hasn't failed us, we've failed the Constitution. Nobody's going to say the Constitution's hanging strong, right? Like it's protecting all kinds of rights out there. They're going to say it's on life support because you haven't done enough. Well, I do a nationally syndicated radio program on the concepts of freedom 6 nights a week for the last, 12 years or so.
You're also an elected Republican as well.
Indeed. I am, I go to the Capitol and I argue, stuff. So you can't claim that I don't do anything. But I'm going to say that, a piece of paper that was written down 200 and something years ago, maybe it's not up to date enough. Maybe the systems for getting new amendments through it is too difficult. Clearly, no good ones are getting through from what I can tell.
Yeah.
And, that bothers me. I mean, we have to agree on it. We have to stop holding this document up like it's the 10 Commandments handed down on Mount Vernon to George Washington by God.
Well, one guy said earlier you just have to hold these politicians accountable, Mark.
They've been telling us that for centuries. Politicians haven't been held accountable before the United States. They haven't been held accountable during the United States. And after the United States federal government finally spends its last dollar completely into insolvency on the freight train to hell that it's taking right now, then the politicians will be corrupt then too. Maybe we should stop putting our faith in politicians. No, maybe politicians won't save us from politicians.
But, Mark, this next election is the most important election of all time.
So is the last one, and the one before that, and the one before that. Now, I don't care whether it is or not. Maybe it is. I mean, I'm not claiming I'm not going to vote in it. I'll vote in the election, but I don't expect my vote to make a difference. I'm not saying I don't expect it to count. I expect my vote to be counted. But I don't expect it to make a difference. Barack Obama won New Hampshire by about 60,000 votes. So if I voted a different way, whatever way I might have voted, one way or the other, if I could withdraw my vote now and cast it again, it wouldn't make a difference because he would win by 59,999 or 60,001 or whatever, right? Like it wouldn't make a difference.
Even if he didn't win, even if the Republican won, it still wouldn't make a difference because the Republican would have brought on all kinds of big government programs, just like the preceding Republican did.
What's really nice about being the losing team is you get to say, well, we would have done it differently. So
all the evidence is to the contrary, though, because the Republicans were in charge back in the aughts for like 6 years, completely in control of the federal government.
They had the House, they had the Senate, they had the White House. Anything that the Republicans wanted to get through, they had 6 years to get it through.
Did.
What we got was a bigger, more inefficient, more intrusive government. Everything they said that the Democrats do to us, the Republicans did when they had the ability.
Let's talk to Ralph. He's in New Jersey, and you can join us here. The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE, 855-450-3733. Ralph, you're on Free Talk Live.
Yes, good evening to the both of you. Once again, we see El Negro over there in Turkey. By the way, what is he doing there in Turkey?
What are you talking about?
Well,
El Negro?
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Who are you referring to? Are you referring to African folks?
Yes. No, I'm talking about Obama.
Okay, well, why don't you just use the man's name?
See, you see.
Isn't it kind of childish to? Isn't it a little childish to use to name call like that?
There's really a suggestion about putting me in some kind of a category which I do not belong. I mean, this is always typical of libertarianism or the.
You wouldn't know libertarianism if it bit you on your butt.
It wouldn't be a libertarian if it bit you on the butt, Mark.
Guilt-ridden, white guilty.
I'm not guilt-ridden. I think that you should do something more than refer to people by their ethnicity.
Yeah, try using a person's name. I mean, it's very, very childish. I mean, it sounds
You're calling childish like you know what, okay?
like talk radio hosts. It's like, these talk radio hosts, they always have their little pet names for these politicians. And it's, come on.
You refer to your program as a libertarian program, right?
Not really, but yeah, it would qualify, I think.
Okay. Would you also like to believe that, the University of Missouri, or what, in shorthand way we can call it Missouri, would also be a libertarian kind of school?
No. I don't know where you would possibly get that notion. Do you know what libertarian means? Can you define it for me?
I think that's guilt-ridden right there.
No. Okay. Libertarian doesn't mean guilt-ridden. That would be guilt-ridden. We have a word for guilt-ridden.
Guilt-ridden, and you know what else is coming after that.
Is it
but
hyphenated?
What I'm trying to say here is the action of the black man in at Missouri.
I'm done.
Okay? That right there is, in my opinion, terroristic action.
I don't know what you just said. There's what in Mizzou?
What the black mob that has taken over that school, and by all indication,
are you still talking about Barack Obama, or are you talking about
the University of Missouri?
Are you saying Barack Obama has taken over the University of Missouri?
Well, in a way, he's not saying anything about what happened there. Did he not? Did he?
I'm so confused. See, this is the problem, Ralph. You're saying the black man.
I don't think the President of the United States is in any way responsible for what is going on the campus of Missouri State University.
Well, he could have said something.
I don't care. It's not like there was a bombing that went on in Paris a couple of days ago. Why do you care what about 9 states away from you are doing? Because it's an opportunity to hate on Obama.
Let him answer the question.
It happened at Yale too, and it happened in some other schools as well. This is spreading now. It's not just over there. Okay? And what this was, really an extortion, number one, a hoax, number two, because, if you come up with one ridiculous...
You'll have to give us number 3 later. Thanks for the call, Ralph. Appreciate hearing from you. Toll-free number 855-450-FREE, 855-450-3733. It's Free Talk Live.
You can control your health care with Liberty Health Share.
Liberty Health Share is like-minded people coming together to share medical costs, which saves money.
You don't even have to pay for procedures that violate your conscience.
Because we all share the same values.
Join the movement of people who share in medical costs and change the way you pay for your health care forever.
Go to libertyhealthshare.org to find out more.
Liberty Health Share.
Together, we're changing healthcare for good. libertyhealthshare.org.
Are your kids spending too much time online? Are they gaming instead of doing homework? Are they on Facebook instead of sleeping? Turn their internet access on or off when you want for free at webcurfew.com. 100% web-based interface means nothing to download, install, or configure. Web Curfew is free and controls any device using your home network without slowing down your internet. Block all adult web content with the click of a button. Don't let the internet raise your kids. Take back control of how and when your home internet is used for free. Visit webcurfew.com.
My name is Bill Bonner, and I have an important message. Right now, the highest levels of government are struggling against an inevitable crisis, but they're about to lose control. When this happens, it will rip our country apart in ways you never imagined, from where we shop to the family you want to protect. Look, I've made predictions like this before. A few years ago, I warned that the housing prices would collapse. Before that, I warned that .com companies would crash, and they did. Those who listened had a chance to save themselves. But this has nothing to do with the stock market. This will affect us all. I've posted a free video at disappearingwealth.com. Maybe you'll disagree with my conclusions, but first you need to watch this video and see the facts for yourself. You can watch the video for free right now by going to disappearingwealth.com. Again, that's disappearingwealth.com.
Free Press Publications is an independent, alternative media and publishing company founded in June 2009 with the mission of ensuring a free press for the freedom movement and is committed to spreading the message of peace, freedom, love, and liberty. FPP also gives new authors an avenue for publishing freedom-oriented material. FPP brings you daily news and commentary on the website fpp.cc, as well as a daily 5-minute newscast, FPP Radio News, and weekly news, views, and commentary in the FPP Freedom Minute and Peace, Love, Liberty Radio at fppradio.com, and the monthly newspaper FPP News at news.fpp.cc. Find FPP online at fpp.cc. That's fpp.cc, as in Creative Commons.
LRN.FM is proud to announce our official listening apps for Android and iOS devices. Now you can easily tune into our streams anywhere, anytime on your smartphone or tablet. Just visit apps.lrn.fm or search for LRN.FM in the Android or Apple app stores. Please download, rate it 5 stars, then share the link on social media, and let your friends and family know how you're listening to LRN.FM. Download it now, free at apps.lrn.fm. That's apps.lrn.fm.
Currency is too important a thing to be left in the hands of government bureaucrats, especially when billions of dollars can be created with the swipe of a pen. Overstock.com supports the cryptocurrency movement because it returns the power of an inflation-proof money to the people where it belongs. Did you know that you can use Bitcoin to pay for anything Overstock.com sells while enjoying free shipping on orders of 0.211 Bitcoin or more? If you support freedom in the cryptocurrency movement, you should support Overstock.com.
You can put the Liberty Radio Network on the air in your area. Visit broadcast.lrn.fm to learn how. Broadcast.lrn.fm.
This is Free Talk Live. You're invited to join us on the radio waves. It's live on this Sunday edition, or at least we are producing the show live. Whether you're listening live is another question. And whether you're listening live or not, you can still join us live anytime you want. We're live 7 to 10 at night Eastern Time, 7 nights a week. So if you've got something you want to discuss with us, feel free to dial on in and join the show. With you in the studio, you've got Ian.
And Mark.
And Mark, what's happening with your family's health care?
Well, we've signed up with Liberty Health Share. What Liberty Health Share is it's a health sharing organization rather than an insurance company. It allows individuals to share the burden of healthcare costs. Now, that's what insurance companies do, but they do it with a whole bunch of overhead and all kinds of state sanctions and rules and that sort of thing. Health sharing organizations operate outside of that. They do, however, fit all the criteria of Obamacare. So I would encourage you, if you pay for your own health insurance or because you have to start at the end of the year and paying for your own health insurance or whatever, I would encourage you to just check out Liberty Health Share like I did. And I think you'll find out that the pricing's significantly less. For my family, it was a little more than half the cost of health insurance. And that had gone up significantly too. JoinLHS.com. That's Liberty Health Share, LHS.com. And the telephone number, I'll give that to you too in case you don't have a computer and can't go to joinlhs.com. 800-722-8041. 800-722-8041. Liberty Health Share. If you ever need information on an advertiser, you can go to freetalklive.com. We've got banners running down the side of the page, and you can find the information right there.
Perfect.
JoinLHS.com.
All right, we'll take your calls about whatever happens to be on your mind. Our toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. We've got Skype as well. Skype username LRN.FM. TheGuardian.com with an interesting, and I would say related story here, considering we've been discussing Syria in relation to France attacking various different supposed ISIS targets in Syria, which, of course, the more bombs you drop, the closer you're going to get to killing innocent people. And we don't know how many innocent people have been slaughtered in Syria. But you can rest assured that the more innocent people do get killed, the more likely that's going to generate more terrorists, more people willing to join ISIS, and fight against the French and United States governments as well as the people of those countries.
They call it blowback.
Yeah, exactly. So here's this story from, actually it was a little bit earlier this year in the summertime, from The Guardian. Now the truth emerges, how the U.S. fueled the rise of ISIS in Syria and Iraq, by Sumis Milne. The war on terror, that campaign without end, launched 14 years ago. It's that long.
Jeez.
14 years ago by George W. Bush, is tying itself up in ever more grotesque contortions. On Monday, the trial of in London of a Swedish man, Berlin Gildo, accused of terrorism in Syria, collapsed after it became clear that British intelligence had been arming the same rebel groups that the defendant was charged with supporting. The prosecution abandoned the case, apparently to avoid embarrassing the intelligence services. The defense argued that going ahead with the trial would have been an affront to justice when there was plenty of evidence the British state was itself providing extensive support to the armed Syrian opposition. That didn't only include the non-lethal assistance boasted by the government, including body armor and military vehicles, but also training, logistical support, and the secret supply of arms on a massive scale.
Yeah, you think that governments, if they say that they're just going to hand out some, Twinkies and ho-hos to their favorite armed people, are not handing out weapons and supplies? Come on.
Reports were cited that MI6 had cooperated with the CIA on a rat line of arms transfers from Libyan stockpiles to the Syrian rebels in 2012 after the fall of the Gaddafi regime. Clearly, the absurdity of sending someone to prison for doing what ministers and their security officials were up to themselves became too much. But it's only the latest in a string of such cases. Less fortunate was a London cab driver, Anis Sardar, who was given a life sentence a fortnight earlier for taking part in 2007 in resistance to the occupation of Iraq by U.S. and British forces. Armed opposition to illegal invasion and occupation clearly doesn't constitute terrorism or murder on most definitions, including the Geneva Convention. But terrorism is now squarely in the eye of the beholder, and nowhere is that more so than the Middle East, where today's terrorists are tomorrow's fighters against tyranny, and allies are enemies, often at the bewildering whim of a Western policymaker's conference call.
It comes, it goes, who knows which side, who's on what.
Yep, it's just whatever they say in the moment.
Right. And I think that, the difficulty here the Obama administration has is that there is a great deal of pressure to get out of Iraq. I want out of Iraq. Mm-hmm. But now it looks like with ISIS rising up that getting out was a bad idea. So they're trying to support the next Democrat that's coming along, whose Democrats are always considered to be sort of weak on foreign policy. And they're trying to make it look good for them. Hey, see, we solved this whole problem that we created when, that kind of thing. I'm not blaming them. What I'm saying is it should have never happened in the first place. The warfare welfare machine is supported by both parties, but that's what it looks like to me.
For the past year, U.S., British, and other Western forces have been back in Iraq, supposedly in the cause of destroying the hyper-sectarian terror group Islamic State, formerly known as al-Qaeda, in Iraq. This was after ISIS overran huge chunks of Iraqi and Syrian territory and proclaimed a self-styled Islamic caliphate. Well, the campaign isn't going well. Last month, ISIS rolled into the Iraqi city of Ramadi, while on the other side of the now non-existent border, its forces conquered the Syrian town of Palmyra. Al-Qaeda's official franchise, the Nusra Front, has also been making gains in Syria. Some Iraqis complain that the U.S. sat on its hands while all this was going on. The Americans insist they're trying to avoid civilian casualties and claim significant successes. Privately, officials say they don't want to be seen hammering Sunni strongholds in a sectarian war and risk upsetting their Sunni allies in the Gulf. A revealing light on how we got here has now been shown by a recently declassified secret U.S. intelligence report written in August of 2012, which uncannily predicts and effectively welcomes the prospect of a Salafist principality in eastern Syria and an al-Qaeda-controlled Islamic State in Syria and Iraq. In stark contrast to Western claims at the time, the Defense Intelligence Agency document identifies al-Qaeda in Iraq, which became ISIS, and fellow Salafists as the major forces driving the insurgency in Syria, and states that Western countries, the Gulf states, and Turkey were supporting the opposition's efforts to take control of eastern Syria. So the U.S. intelligence report basically predicting what ended up happening. raising the possibility of establishing a declared or undeclared Salafist principality. The Pentagon report goes on.
Well, what seems so strange about ISIS is how it went from nothing to this incredible regional power in just months. I mean, how did they do it? And I can't figure that out for the life of me, other than a lot of people in the Middle East are sick and tired of Western intervention in their region. They just want, they want to be left alone. They want to figure it out. I don't know. Maybe I'm completely wrong, but there are a lot of people that seem to be flocking to ISIS, which was a pretty small organization. They claimed it was hundreds a few months ago. Barack Obama said that ISIS was the JV team. Remember him calling them junior varsity? Nothing to worry about. Said that they were contained just a few days ago. So I don't even know what to believe.
We'll share more about how the U.S. fueled their rise. It's Free Talk Live.
I want to be able to smoke inside, cut down on cigarettes, jog without wheezing, be kissable, and save money.
Then you want LeSig e-cigarettes. Get the highest quality, best tasting vaping experience on the market with unmatched customer service from LeSig. And right now, gobble up this deal. Buy $30 worth of any products and get a starter kit for only $5. Use code SK at checkout. But hurry, offer good only until Thanksgiving at LeSig.com. LeCig.com. Kick some ash with LeSig.
A revolution in body protection has arrived only at FortressSurvivalLLC.com. Introducing the revolutionary patented Level 3 Bulletproof Vest. 100% Kevlar, 100% American-made. Concealable, fully adjustable, and the lowest price on the market. Adult size normally $289.99, now just $250. Kid size normally $239.99, now just $200. Get affordable protection with a Level 3A Bulletproof Vest from FortressSurvivalLLC.com. For thou art my rock and my fortress. Psalm 31:3.
On Free Talk Live, we're bringing people to the ideas of liberty every day. From wrestling superstars like Glenn Jacobs.
You guys really are having an impact, I believe. Like I said, a lot of where I am now is due to listening to Free Talk Live. You changed my mind on some very important issues years ago.
To random people tuning in on the radio.
I was kind of stuck in the left-right paradigm. I heard your show by chance on a Saturday night. From there, I went on, joined the Free State Project, and become an amplifier. So, I mean, that's really the reason why I amp is because I know that if it wasn't for you guys being on as many stations as you are, I never would have found the ideas of liberty.
Your amp will directly change more lives by getting Free Talk Live in front of people looking for talk radio online and on the air. When you amp Free Talk Live, you get perks like access to the AMP-only Facebook group and AMP podcast. Visit amp.freetalklive.com.
This is your Robertson Roberts Brokerage Daily Precious Metals Update. In early trading Friday, gold is off $4 at $1,083 per ounce. Silver is down 7 cents at $14.28 per ounce. Bitcoin is trading at $332 US. Silver seems like a real bargain now, the lowest it's been in 6 years. Get some silver. Call Robertson Roberts Brokerage today at 800-874-9760 or visit us online at rrbi.co.
Free Talk Live has partnered with Amazon, the largest internet retailer. Imagine a department store category, and Amazon has it. Books, electronics, office products, furniture, jewelry, automotive, toys, clothing, sporting goods, and dozens of other categories. Now you can shop and support Free Talk Live by entering Amazon through our website. Go to shop.freetalklive.com, and Amazon will send us a portion of your purchase. You're going to do the shopping anyway, so remember to enter through our site at shop.freetalklive.com. That's shop.freetalklive.com.
Every once in a while, you get information that's worth changing your life for. This is one such time. You can save up to and beyond 25% on all purchases at Amazon. You probably heard of Bitcoin and just not thought much about it. You certainly know that you can get competitive pricing at Amazon, but now you can get a 25% discount on nearly everything you need to live. I've just given you a huge raise, and all you have to do is claim it. You go to saveitpurse.com and open an account. Do this right now. Don't wait. Then you fund the account with Bitcoin. I know this sounds unbelievable, but at my house, we saved as much as 45% off of a new item on Amazon. This information is worth you changing the way you do things. Go to saveitpurse.com right now, get signed up, and cash in on the huge raise I'm offering you. 15 to 25% off of everything at Amazon through saveitpurse.com. It's saveatpurse.com.
You can connect with the Liberty Radio Network via our Facebook page at facebook.lrn.fm. That's facebook.lrn.fm.
It's Free Talk Live Sunday edition here. You may join us toll free. Our number, 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. You can join us online. Just drop on by freetalklive.com. Please, if you like the show, become a Free Talk Live amplifier today at amp.freetalklive.com. It's a brand new website, brand new amp system. Please drop by if you enjoy what we're doing here on the radio 7 nights a week, talking about freedom, talking about peace. Then $5 a month is all we're asking to support the show. We take that money in and we invest it into Free Talk Live, using it to help advertise, market, and promote Free Talk Live to help us get on more radio stations, more satellite signals, and more internet connections. So you can help us do that for just a few bucks a month over at amp.freetalklive.com, AMP as in advertise, market, and promote, amp.freetalklive.com. You get perks like access to the AMP-only call-in lines, the AMP-only podcast, and the AMP-only Facebook group. So go get started at amp.freetalklive.com. We're sharing a story from The Guardian. It was published during the summer, according to Seamus Milne. Is it Seamus? S-E-U-M-A-S. It's a new spelling for maybe Seamus. I'm not sure.
Okay.
Anyway, it was written back in June, but it's, I think, particularly relevant here given that, there's a lot of controversy over Syria, the ISIS occupation over there, the French government bombing ISIS targets, which ostensibly likely resulted in French people being slaughtered on Friday night and will likely result in more slaughtering of French people, considering the French have now retaliated against ISIS with more bombing. So how did we get here? Well, according to this report,
I can tell you part of it is that if you look at the populations of the Middle East, including places like Afghanistan, Iraq, Syria, places where they've been destabilized by Western powers, including France and the United States, that the horrors that occurred, and I'm not calling them anything but horrors, the horrors that occurred in Paris, just a few days ago, are probably happen, on average twice a week. Those kind of numbers of deaths are occurring in the Middle East, places where the numbers in France are pretty comparative, and nobody in the West cares about that.
So it's
funny how they get all upset.
This report, there's a secret, or what was secret, now recently declassified secret U.S. intelligence report written back in August of 2012 that uncannily predicts and effectively welcomes the prospect of a Salafist principality in eastern Syria. Salafist is the Salafists. Well, some Salafists are ISIS, right? So ISIS is a Salafist group.
What does it mean?
What is a Salafist?
Yeah,
I actually had Wikipedia pulled up a moment ago. I'll have to pull it up for you. It's a particular version of the Salafi movement here from Wikipedia is an ultra-conservative Orthodox movement within Sunni Islam that references the doctrine known as Salafism, which can be summed up as taking a fundamentalist approach to Islam. But, of course, we're not talking about the average Salafist. We're talking about the Salafi jihadists, the people who are willing to do violence in pursuit of their particular religious beliefs.
Gotcha.
So that's who ISIS is. Arguably the most ambitious and intolerant modern emanation is the self-styled Islamic State, which declared a caliphate in conquered parts of civil war-torn Syria and Iraq, where they established a Sharia reign of terror and vow to extend this all over worldwide. Anyway, back to the story here from The Guardian. So again, this U.S. intelligence report predicts the rise of this Salafist principality, and it goes on to say that essentially that the possibility of establishing said declared or undeclared Salafist principality is exactly what the supporting powers to the opposition want in order to isolate the Syrian regime, which is considered the strategic depth of the Shia expansion in Iraq and Iran. So
run that by me again. I don't get it.
So in order to isolate the Syrian regime, the people writing this paper wanted
Assad.
At the time, I guess in 2012 or whatever, they wanted
still is
ISIS, because ISIS didn't really exist in 2012.
Yeah,
right. So they wanted, they saw that there could be this Salafist principality, which is ISIS, that could be on the rise there, that would essentially isolate the Syrian regime. They saw that the Salafist principality, aka ISIS, would be their ally against the Syrian regime. So they were predicting this as this is a good thing.
Yeah.
We need these guys.
Turns out they're nuts, and they're cooking other Muslim pilots and whacking the heads off of Christians and Muslims alike, and kidnapping reporters, and they're completely out of their gourds insane.
So this is pretty much what exactly happened 2 years later, says The Guardian. The report isn't a policy document. It's heavily redacted, and there are ambiguities in the language. But the implications are clear enough. A year into the Syrian rebellion, the U.S. and its allies weren't only supporting and arming an opposition that they knew to be dominated by extreme sectarian groups, they were prepared to countenance the creation of some sort of Islamic state, despite the grave danger, that's a quote, grave danger, to Iraq's unity as a Sunni buffer in order to weaken Syria. So they funded, they armed the Islamic, basically what became the Islamic State, in order to oppose the Syrian regime.
No, that's what the claim has been all along. I don't think there's too many Americans out there that are that believe may not understand the depth of it, but believe that the creation of ISIS is anything but the U.S.
That doesn't mean the U.S. created ISIS, of course, though some of its Gulf allies certainly played a role in it, as the U.S. Vice President Joe Biden acknowledged last year. But there was no al-Qaeda in Iraq until the U.S. and Britain invaded. And the U.S. has certainly exploited the existence of ISIS against other forces in the region.
If you get involved in wars, you've got to take responsibility for what happens afterwards, at least immediately afterwards.
When do they do that?
When do they
take responsibility for the consequences of war? The U.S. has certainly exploited the existence of ISIS against other forces in the region as part of a wider drive to maintain Western control. The calculus changed when ISIS started beheading Westerners and posting the atrocities online.
They didn't like that.
And the Gulf states...
I don't like that.
The Gulf states are now backing other groups in the Syrian war, such as the Nusra Front. But this U.S. and Western habit of playing with jihadi groups, which then come back to bite them...
They've been doing it since forever.
Goes back to at least the 1980s.
Yeah, the Contras in the 80s and
the Afghanistan Soviet conflict.
No, that's not the Contras.
That's what they say here, though. That
right.
It goes
I understand.
back to that
They're
time.
talking about jihadis, and that's specifically Muslims. But the CIA has been arming the folks they like and doing the stuff they like for longer than the 80s.
And, of course, that fostered the original al-Qaeda under CIA tutelage. So it all traces back to Western meddling in these places. It was recalibrated during the occupation of Iraq when U.S. forces led by General Petraeus sponsored an El Salvador-style dirty war of sectarian death squads to weaken the Iraqi resistance. And it was reprised in 2011 in the NATO-orchestrated war in Libya, where ISIS last week took control of Gaddafi's hometown of Sirte. In reality, U.S. and Western policy in the conflagration that is now the Middle East is in the classic mold of imperial divide and rule. American forces bomb one set of rebels while backing another in Syria, and mount what are effectively joint military operations with Iran against ISIS in Iraq, while supporting Saudi Arabia's military campaign against Iranian-backed Houthi forces in Yemen. However, do you follow all that?
No.
Well, it's all manipulation on the part of the U.S. However, confused U.S. policy...
I don't think for a second that the other Western powers aren't involved in this.
Yeah. Oh, they're all on the same page. However, confused U.S. policy may often be...
I get what statecraft is. It's not like I'm completely blind to this, but, I mean, at some point or another... You kind of look at the installation of the Shah of Iran, and I think it was like the 50s.
Yeah.
By the CIA. Well, there's a lashback in the late 70s, and then you see the the student uprising, the hostages are taken, and then Iran becomes this ultra Muslim place. Now, most Americans are like, how did that happen to us? But because they don't know. They didn't get to vote on whether or not the CIA installed the Shah in Iran, and he run this terrible death squad and all that other stuff. But at some point or another, I hope the politicians, because it doesn't seem like most people are plugged in and pay attention, but you'd think the politician would be like, this isn't working. This plan where we keep on backing the guys to put our folks in or whatever, it's just not working.
Maybe it's working well. The military-industrial complex is raking it in.
Yeah.
And the
I can't argue with that.
The politicians get their golden parachutes to get nice retirements, and then they get picked up for jobs in that military-industrial complex. Those guys are winning big time. It's Free Talk Live.
Yeah. Well, our children are dying.
Are you searching for your soulmate? Someone you can trust, who will never betray you? Or cooperate with the NSA? Stop searching. With EasyDNS, you found a keeper. EasyDNS does it all. Domain names, web hosting, and managed WordPress hosting. EasyDNS stands up for your internet freedom. And with servers in Canada, they do not cooperate with the NSA. Go to EasyDNS.com. You'll love their services or get a full refund. They guarantee it. And they accept Bitcoin. That's EasyDNS.com.
Dr. Ngozi Obi is an emerging American author of Nigerian descent who's published 2 novels with an inspirational message. A third is in the works. Her first novel, Love's Destiny, follows Eyre, a somewhat naive young woman, in a gripping tale of love lost and found. Her second novel, When Dreams and Visions Collide, follows Fern and friends as they discover what it takes to realize a dream and the true meaning of unconditional love. Dr. Obi's books are available where books are sold and ladyofdestiny.com.
Silver has always been nature's very own antibiotic, and only one system allows you to produce an endless supply of nano-sized silver solutions right from the convenience of your home. Silver Lungs. With the addition of our unique lung delivery system, respiratory infections are targeted directly, where traditional oral administration simply cannot reach. This pioneering method also preserves the original particle sizes and delivers your silver solution directly into the bloodstream. See the Silver Lungs generator and lung delivery system at silverlungs.com. That's silverlungs.com.
A lot of people's lives and bodies are out of balance. AlkaVision Plasma pH drops optimize pH level and get rid of harmful waste and acid. Just a few drops in water restores vibrance and energy and gets you back in balance. Now order 2 bottles and get $10 off your order. Sign up for monthly auto shipping and save 25%. Call 800-518-7615 or visit alkavision.com. Alkalize your body. Supercharge your health at alkavision.com.
Money, power, and respect are all yours at CreditSuccessSecretsRevealed.com. Be seen as an industry leader. You can do it. The last application you filled out when it was time to hit submit, did your nerves spike? You didn't get the approval you seek, but there's a better way. We teach you exactly what to place into the right systems the right way the first time so you get approved. Get up to $100,000 in instant business credit. Many people will get cash on the spot. Use those 2 tools in your new corporate credit engine so you can walk into the bank and get your project funded today. It's all about today at CreditSuccessSecretsRevealed.com. Credit Success Secrets Revealed is explosive and ignites instant results. Dial 1-800-707-8719. That's 1-800-707-8719. 1-800-707-8719. Or just go to CreditSuccessSecretsRevealed.com.
The 3 most important things you can do for Free Talk Live are: 1, share 1 episode a week on Facebook or in some other social networking site. 2, buy the things you buy online through shop.freetalklive.com. 3, give $5 a month to the AMP program. It's my firm belief that Free Talk Live's AMP program is the best use of your charitable dollar among liberty-oriented organizations. Support all the organizations you love, but make sure you give $5 a month to AMP at amp.freetalklive.com.
CopBlock has quickly become the top police accountability group in the United States, and maybe even the world. With chapters across the globe, there's probably a group near you that you can join. If not, you can start your own. Besides joining a local CopBlock group, you can also give just $1 a month to the CopBlock network. Your contribution helps support the efforts of those who make CopBlock possible. So please join the CopBlock network now at copblock.lrn.fm. That's copblock.lrn.fm.
While our satellite channel is free to listen to, it's not free for us. You can help us cover our satellite costs with the chip-in on the right side of the page at lrn.fm.
It's Free Talk Live. Dial on in toll free here. Share your thoughts. 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. Also, Skype username LRN.FM. The story that we're sharing with you is relatively short. We're almost done with it here. From The Guardian, talking about the secret, what was secret, but now declassified, although still heavily redacted, U.S. intelligence report written back in August of 2012, which predicts and effectively welcomes the prospect of a Salafist principality, a.k.a. what became ISIS, in Syria. And they predicted this accurately. In fact, there's evidence that the British intelligence and likely the U.S. intelligence in
the United States government knew ISIS was coming, or something like ISIS, and was welcoming it.
And arguably funding them as well. It's definitely true that British intelligence was arming the very same rebel groups in Syria that ended up, many of them, becoming ISIS. So, you've got funds and guns coming from these Western governments. If British intelligence is doing it, CIA's doing it with them, right? So, they're arming these people who then ultimately used your tax dollars, the money from you, to then cut off your neighbors' heads. So those videos that ISIS has posted online over the last year showing people being decapitated, some people from the United States, some people from Great Britain, well, you could point out, I think accurately, that it was likely at some point your tax dollars that went to fund those beheadings. If it's, indeed the case that, and it seems to be, that the U.S. and the British governments were funding these rebel groups that became ISIS.
That's when they started to back off of ISIS, right?
When they started backing off?
The governments. They started backing off when ISIS begins whacking the heads off of people.
When you say backing off, I mean, what do you mean by that? There's still bombings going on.
No, they were backing off their support for ISIS.
Oh, I see what you mean. Publicly, yes. So a little bit more here from The Guardian in this piece. You can share your thoughts at 855-450 free. So in reality, U.S. and Western policy in the conflagration that is now the Middle East is in the classic mold of imperial divide and rule. American forces bomb one set of rebels while backing another in Syria and mount what are effectively joint military operations with Iran against ISIS in Iraq, while supporting Saudi Arabia's military campaign against Iranian-backed Houthi forces in Yemen. So they're fighting and arming everybody. However confused U.S.
Everybody's got bombs that say made in the USA on the side.
Yep. However confused U.S. policy may often be, a weak partitioned Iraq and Syria fits such an approach perfectly. What's clear is that ISIS and its monstrosities won't be defeated by the same powers that brought it to Iraq and Syria in the first place, or whose open and covert war-making has fostered it in the years since. Endless Western military interventions in the Middle East have brought only destruction and division. It's the people of the region who can cure this disease, not those who incubated the virus.
Yeah, I mean, obviously things were pretty tumultuous here in the United States when the U.S. had its Revolutionary War, but it seems like countries should be left alone to figure these things out for themselves. I mean, ultimately...
Well, that would be the libertarian foreign policy. Let people be, if you want to get involved, if you want to go send your own aid over there, you want to send a care package or go and join some foreign military or some rebel squadron, then by all means, you should have the freedom to do that.
And, this gets called isolationism over and over again. That's not isolationism. North Korea is isolated. North Korea doesn't do business with, they don't allow trade in the country, they don't allow people in the country. I'm all for people doing business with U.S. companies. I'm all for U.S. companies doing business around the world, trade going everywhere, tourists going everywhere, all this stuff.
That's how
all
you
for
make
that.
peace.
Yeah, that when trade
you don't
isn't
kill your
crossing
customers.
Yeah, when trade isn't crossing borders, then troops are much more likely to. So I'm not an isolationist. I'm a non-interventionist, and that means I prefer not to drop bombs on people's children from remote control airplanes. That's what I'm against.
Yeah, because you wouldn't want that happening to your kids, right? That's an easy thing to understand.
It seems pretty easy to understand, but it seems like so many people just don't want to understand.
No, they don't get it. I posted on our...
Oh, they get it. They don't want to get. They don't want to spend any time
not
getting
trying to get it. I posted on our Facebook page earlier tonight the article that we shared about France striking ISIS again in Syria. So just after they were struck back in these attacks in France on Friday night, they then dropped 20 more bombs in the supposed ISIS capital over that way. And my comment with the story that I posted was, France continues to bomb Syria, inviting more terror attacks. And the two responses thus far from people posting on our Facebook page, Dave Roberts writes, "Really? Where's the logic in this vacuous assertion?" And then Bruce Livingston says, well, what did they do to, quote, invite, unquote, the first one? Yeah, the bombings would have invited it.
Right. When you drop bombs, the chances of killing innocent people are high. It's been happening over and over again. It's not like death in the Middle East is new, and it's happening all the time. What's new is Westerners care about it. Now they care about death because it's happening in a Western country. When their governments are going, abroad and causing all kinds of havoc.
Yeah.
Well, ultimately that's what happens. Look, I'm no fan of ISIS. And I certainly don't want to see them get bigger and more powerful. But I think Iran, Saudi Arabia, Syria, these countries should be handling this on their own.
Well, if you want ISIS to get bigger and more powerful, just keep dropping bombs. Every bomb that drops and kills innocent people is going to result in more signups for ISIS.
Yep.
Our toll-free number, if you want to join us here, 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. Look, just because I said they invited more terrorism doesn't mean that's obviously... I don't think that's what people want when they use violence as a solution. That's just what people's natural response is.
Right. If you go around punching people in the nose, expect to get punched back.
I mean, is it hard to understand that, look, try for a moment, and I know it's horrifying to think about this, but try for a moment to imagine a bomb dropping in your neighborhood and affecting your family. Maybe you're at work at that time of the day, and the Chinese roll in or fly in jets and drop a bomb in your neighborhood. And is the excuse from the Chinese that they're trying to stop terrorism going to pacify you? Is that going to...
There are certainly criminals living in your neighborhood, are there not?
Probably.
And some of those criminals are now dead. Why are you not thanking the Chinese?
Well, maybe because your children have perished and your wife has had her limbs removed by these bombs. And, maybe you could put yourself in the position of somebody who comes home at the end of the day to discover their home has been turned to rubble and their family is dead. Maybe you could understand why someone like that might all of a sudden decide that, well, there's no more point in working for a living because I have no family to support.
They've gone Charles Bronson on your butt, and that's it. They have nothing to live for any longer. If you kill my kid, I have nothing to live for at that point.
Right.
And I may very well swear vengeance against you. And it's
not okay, but it's what happens.
To say that that's not acceptable for Middle Easterners is to say that they are dogs, to say that they are nothing but livestock, where you can kill their kids and they shouldn't care. That's what you do to pigs. That's what you do to cows. It's not what you do to people. When you do it to people... And how can you continue to do the same thing over and over again and expect different results? Where am I getting this wrong? There are so many warmongers out there. Where am I getting it wrong?
Well, if you would like to explain that to Mark, you can call in toll-free here at 855-450-FREE, and that's 855-450-3733. Also, we have Skype at Skype username LRN.FM, and that's where Sean is on the line. And Sean, where are you calling from tonight?
Calling from Santa Barbara, California.
Welcome.
Interesting thing that I noticed during the France attack and in response was that they deployed, it was 1,500 of their SAS or something they're called, their France military troops.
The ninjas?
The ninjas. And then I wanted to compare that to the Boston bomber in Boston was the authorities there had some 10,000, troops on the streets of Boston. So it just kind of illustrates how far along our police state is.
Is that true? There were 10,000? That seems unbelievable that there would be that many troops.
It's a huge deployment
in Boston.
It was in that range between
all. They were bringing
the
people from all over.
That's true.
Yeah.
They did have some New Hampshire cops go down there too. Yeah, I guess it's believable. There's 10,000 cops down in Massachusetts.
Stunning.
It's probably true.
It is stunning. It highlights our police state. And then the other thing is I don't understand, I guess, or it just doesn't make sense why they hit France when it was Russia who was really hitting them hard recently with the airstrikes.
It's probably easier. They blew up that Russian plane in all likelihood.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
Sean, thanks for the call tonight, man. I appreciate hearing from you. Our toll-free number is 855-450-FREE, 855-450 3733. Skype username is LRN.FM. Free Talk Live.
As a pioneer of the e-commerce movement, Overstock.com is proud to be the first major retailer to accept Bitcoin. Overstock was the first because Patrick Byrne, Overstock's CEO and founder, firmly believes in personal freedom and cryptocurrency. Over the past 16 years, Overstock has furnished over 18 million homes with a diverse line of products to suit everyone's unique styles and preferences. Support Overstock and freedom of choice while enjoying free shipping on orders of 0.211 Bitcoin or more.
Are you thinking about your Medicare benefits right now? You know, Original Medicare may not cover all of your needs, and the deadline to choose your plan is rapidly approaching. Plus, whatever Medicare plan you choose is locked in for a full year. So the wrong choice could cost you thousands of dollars in out-of-pocket costs. At Health Markets, we can help you find a plan to minimize those costs with one free phone call. You could spend hours doing all the research yourself, or our license.
Radio is the most personal of mediums. I exist right now in your head. If you listen to Free Talk Live regularly, you know me. Free Talk Live is on more than 160 radio stations around the U.S. and has been downloaded on every continent around the world. Hundreds of thousands of listeners with ad packages from $600 a month to $6,000 a month. Imagine what we can do for your business, project, website, or idea. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
You can listen to Free Talk Live on the radio, podcast, satellite, webcam, and our live streams. But did you know you can listen to Free Talk Live from any phone, anywhere? Add this number to your phone, 213-493-0308. It's a long-distance call, so make sure you're familiar with your phone's calling plan. The listen lines are airing the latest episode of Free Talk Live 24 hours a day, including our live shows. Call 213-493-0308. That's 213-493-0308.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 3 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Keene in the Shire, the Liberty Media capital of the world, this is Daryl W. Perry, host of FPP Radio News for Sunday, November 15th, 2015. Silver is trading at $14.26 per ounce. Gold is valued at $1,084 per ounce. And according to BitcoinAverage.com, the average price of Bitcoin is $333. Antiwar.com reports German Foreign Affairs Minister Frank-Walter Steinmeier on Saturday announced that the latest Vienna talks on Syria have decided upon bringing opposition groups in immediately with an eye towards holding elections in Syria in 18 months. This, of course, was the exact proposal Russia was expected to offer at the talks, though Steinmeier did not offer any details to go along with the plan, and the question who will be allowed to run in the elections at the end is likely to be a major obstacle. Russia's plan, at least as described in the press, was for there to be full free elections with no restrictions, but this was immediately spurned by rebel factions as well as Saudi Arabia, who are demanding that President Assad be explicitly barred from running. The notion of elections at all still seems to be outside of the expectations of a lot of the rebels. However, as many seem to be operating on the assumption that they would simply be installed as a new government by the U.S. and its allies at some point, and have loudly opposed the idea of allowing materially anybody from existing government to remain. For nearly 40 years, Roberts & Roberts Brokerage has been a trusted source for buying and selling precious metals like gold and silver. They also take Bitcoin for precious metal purchases and have permanently removed the minimum purchase amount for all orders paid in the digital currency. Call Roberts & Roberts today for knowledgeable advice on buying and selling precious metals and a forward-thinking approach to new technologies. 800-874-9760 or visit online at rrbi.co. UPI reports the U.S. Supreme Court on Friday agreed to hear a challenge to a new Texas law that has dwindled the number of abortion clinics in the Lone Star State in what will be the High Court's first major abortion case in 8 years. The challenge takes on a Texas law passed in 2013 that has reduced the number of abortion providers in Texas from about 40 to about 10. The Texas law that has caused so many clinics to shut down mandates that abortion providers have the same standards as ambulatory surgical centers with certain requirements for equipment, staff, and infrastructure. The challengers to the law say it will delay or prevent thousands of women from obtaining abortions and lead some to resort to unsafe or illegal methods of ending an unwanted pregnancy. The challengers' brief states there would be no licensed abortion facilities west of San Antonio. Opponents to the Texas law say the regulations are unnecessary and expensive, and some say that they were designed to weed out abortion clinics. The brief in the case, Whole Woman's Health v. Cole, adds that women's access to high-quality, evidence-based abortion should not be limited by laws enacted under the guise of patient safety, but that in fact actually harm women's health. Proponents of the law say the provisions are necessary to ensure women's health and safety. Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton believes the U.S. Supreme Court should not hear the case, saying the High Court is not qualified to become an ex officio medical board that determines national medical standards. You can support FPP Radio by joining the Fans program. Fans are friends, allies, and numerary supporters. Fans help FPP afford to produce more original content. You can join the Fans program for as little as $3 per month through Patreon and get perks like ad-free versions of FPP Radio News and Peace, Love, Liberty Radio. To learn more or to join the Fans program, visit fans.fppradio.com. That's fans.fppradio.com. Reuters reports New York, Boston, and other cities in the United States bolstered security on Friday night after deadly gun and bomb attacks on civilians in Paris, but law enforcement officials said the beefed-up police presence was precautionary rather than a response to any specific threat. The New York Police Department said officers from its Counterterrorism Response Command and other special units were deployed in areas frequented by tourists and at the French consulate in Manhattan. The NYPD did not say how many extra officers were sent to guard the areas of concern, nor did it specify the areas where the extra officers were sent. New York Governor Andrew Cuomo said he directed state law enforcement officials to monitor the Paris situation for any implications for New York State and to remain in constant communication with their local and federal partners. Security has also been beefed up at National Basketball Association and National Football League games. This has been FPP Radio News, online at fppradio.com.
The entire nation has been transfixed by the emotional saga of missing toddler Aaron Crawford. Police remain baffled by 4-year-old Aaron's mysterious disappearance. The Crawford family is finally speaking out, but it isn't easy.
We're taking it day by day, you know? We just miss our baby so much.
This must be so hard on everyone.
All he does is cry. I hate him.
Little Aaron was last seen in the bedroom he shares with his older brother, Denny. Authorities say he was abducted by an intruder in the middle of the night.
Denny was in the room when Aaron was taken.
Yeah, right here. Now it's just my room.
Denny, can you tell us what happened?
I was in my room. The man lifted up the window and came in.
Were you scared?
Yes, because I thought he's going to take my Xbox.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
This is Free Talk Live, and you're invited to join us on the radio waves here. Bring up anything that happens to be on your mind. 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. We've got Skype username tonight, LRN.FM. With you, it's Ian.
And Mark.
So, Mark, I know you had a story about religious children being meaner, allegedly, than their secular counterparts. That sounds pretty interesting. Also, there's another piece here at the Ron Paul Institute by Peter Van Buren. Paris, you don't want to read this. So you can join us here as well. Our toll-free number, 855-450-FREE. So should we go with Paris or the kids?
Well, I guess I think tonight Paris is more relevant, frankly.
You don't want to read this, and I take no pleasure in writing it.
By the way, you love to pronounce cities as they, sort of the native speakers pronounce them.
Paris.
So I'm wondering why. Yeah, right. Is that still too ostentatious for you to call Paris Paris?
French does sound ostentatious, doesn't it?
You do. I don't know about the rest of them. A French person saying Paris wouldn't really make a difference to me.
You don't want to read this, and I take no pleasure in writing it, and no one really wants to hear it right now, but I believe it needs to be said. I join the world in grieving for the dead in Paris. I have grieved for the dead from 9/11 forward, the Australians who died in the terror attacks on Bali in 2005, Londoners who died in terror attacks in 2005, the French citizens who died in the Charlie Hebdo attacks in January of this year, the Russians whose plane went down over the Sinai a week or so ago. I grieve also for those killed in smaller attacks that already smuggled deep into the obscurity of our memory. And so we tweet hashtags and phrases in high school French and post GIFs to Facebook. We know what to do. We've done this before. But it has to be said, especially looking at the sick repetition of the same story that despite 14-plus years of a war on terror, terror seems to be with us as much as ever. Maybe even more. It's time to rethink what we have done and what we're doing. Since that day in 2001, the one with those terrible sparkling blue skies in New York, we have spied on the world, Americans at home and foreigners abroad. Yet no one detected anything that stopped the Paris attacks. We gave up much to that spying and got nothing in return.
Yep, seems like the spying goes on, and they didn't, they're like, this was a person known to the security agency of Brussels. Okay, well, that's awesome. Thanks.
By the way, I think someone submitted this to the front page of our website, but I don't see it there at the moment. So I apologize to whoever it was that might have submitted this. Since 2001, the United Nations has led nations like Britain, France, Australia, and others into wars in Iraq, Afghanistan, Libya, and Syria, with drone attacks on the people from the Philippines to Pakistan to all parts of Africa. We have little to nothing to show for all of that. Since 2001, the U.S. has expended enormous efforts to kill a handful of men: Bin Laden, al-Zarqawi, al-Awlaki, and this weekend, Jihadi John. That's right, they claimed that the guy from the videos of the beheadings in wherever they were filmed, in
they finally got
Iraq,
him. Yeah.
They claim that they got him. Others, maybe many without names, were killed outside of media attention, or were tortured to death, or are still rotting in the offshore penal colony of Guantanamo. Yep, that place is still open. Or the dark hell of the salt pit in Afghanistan. And it has not worked. And Paris this weekend, and the next one somewhere else, sometime soon, are the proof. We gave up many of our freedoms in America to defeat the terrorists. It did not work. We gave the lives of over 4,000 American men and women in Iraq and thousands more in Afghanistan to defeat the terrorists, and refused to ask what they died for. We killed tens of thousands or more in those countries. It did not work. We went to war again in Iraq, and now Syria, before in Libya, and only created more failed states and ungoverned spaces that provide havens for terrorists and spilled terror like dropped paint across the borders.
The warning was issued that this was going to be this generation's Vietnam. I mean,
it's a lot longer.
Yeah, the warning was issued. Hey, watch out. This is going to be this generation's Vietnam.
Who issued that warning?
I can't remember. It's been years and years since it was said. And, well, it looks like that's what it's turned into. The war that ultimately there's very few U.S. soldiers who are going to say, well, hey, we lost, because they were winning when they left. And then it looks like they couldn't keep the peace, apparently.
We harass and discriminate against our own Muslim populations and then stand slack-jawed as they become radicalized. And all we do then is blame ISIS for tweeting. Note that's the strategy of Islamic terror to generate a crackdown in France in order to radicalize French Muslims. Hundreds of French citizens have already traveled to Syria to fight with groups including ISIS. As one of the most intelligent commentators on all this, Bill Johnston, said, terrorism is about killing pawns to affect the king. The attacks in Paris are not about the murder of 150 innocent people. Hell, that many die nearly every day in Iraq and Syria.
Yeah.
The true test for France is how they respond to the terror attacks in the long game. That's the king in all of this. America failed this test post 9/11, yet it doesn't sound like France understands anything more than America. French President Hollande said outside the Bataclan concert hall, the scene of the bloodshed, quote, "We are going to lead a war which will be pitiless," unquote, as in without pity.
Yeah.
If I had exactly the right strategy, I'd tell you what it is, and I'd try to tell the people in Washington and Paris and everywhere else. But I don't have the exact thing to do, and I doubt they'd listen to me anyway, writes the author at the Ron Paul Institute. But I do have this. Stop what we've been doing for the last 14 years. It has not worked. There is nothing at all to suggest it will ever work. Whack-a-mole is a game, not a plan. Leave the Middle East alone. Stop creating more failed states. Stop throwing away our freedoms at home on falsehoods. Stop disenfranchising the Muslims who live with us. Understand the war, such as it is against a set of ideas, religious, anti-Western, anti-imperialist, and you cannot bomb an idea. Putting Western soldiers on the ground in the Middle East and Western planes overhead fans the flames. Vengeance does not and cannot extinguish an idea. Start with those things and see, even if you won't give it 14 years to succeed, if things improve. Other than the death toll scaling up further, I can't imagine we could be doing anything worse.
I have to agree. Obviously, Ron Paul was a voice for this.
This is Peter Van Buren who wrote this, but at ronpaulinstitute.org.
Yeah, he was a voice for this during the 2008 election, the 2012 election. He was called crazy, 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 crazy. Quixotic. They use these terms over and over again.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Who's crazy now? I mean, you keep doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. Our children keep getting sacrificed on the altar of the state.
How many more troops have to die? How many more bombs must be dropped? How many more innocents must be killed before terror will vaporize?
And remember, when you're counting those troops, count the 22 veterans a day that kill themselves.
Yeah, that's true.
Let's not forget that number.
That's the current number, at least.
They see things unlike what your mind would be able to handle, and theirs can't handle it either.
Yeah, it breaks.
They're not weak. They're human.
Right, and humans aren't supposed to kill other humans. I mean, we have...
Well, I'd argue that. I don't know that they're supposed to do it in the indiscriminate fashion that they do.
It's not something that is natural to a human to take another human's life, to watch another human's life go out from, behind their eyes or whatever. I mean, that seems like a very unnatural thing to do.
I don't know, man. I think that really the purpose of human males is to fight human males. Like that's the reason for the gender.
So are people acting against their instincts then when they don't kill each other regularly? Because for the most part, it's a peaceful world.
No, I think that mostly what gets most people is that, well, remember, the peaceful world tends to support their militaries, right? Those peaceful worlds tend to support their particular military. So let's not call them entirely peaceful. You can't just sit around and say, rah, rah, team.
I didn't say it was entirely peaceful, but overall, our lives are peaceful. We don't have people killing one another out there. If it was instinct, then they wouldn't be able to hold back from it.
Well,
it'd be like the drive for sex.
War is older than civilization. War is older than cities. So I'm not prepared to sit around and say that peace is our instinct. I don't think it is. I don't think it's our instinct.
Free Talk Live.
Have you become a slave to big tobacco? Have they taken away your money, your health, and even your freedom, forcing you to stand out in the cold this winter? There's an alternative. With the help of Jimmy the Juice Man and GiantVapes.com, for less than the cost of a carton of cigarettes, you can make the switch to electronic cigarettes and take back your freedom. At GiantVapes.com, you'll find a selection of high-quality, reasonably priced electronic cigarette hardware kits to get you started, and a selection of delicious, premium, flavored liquid refills from the award-winning Jimmy the Juice Man brand. These aren't the junk you find at your local gas station. Use the coupon code FTL10 for 10% off your first order of hardware and Jimmy the Juice Man brand liquid at GiantVapes.com, where you will always get free guaranteed same-day shipping. Break free of the chains of sin taxes and big tobacco. Free same-day shipping and 10% off from GiantVapes.com. Giant, VAPES.com with coupon code FTL10.
My name is Don Wiskin, and at 42 years old, I suffered a massive heart attack and was told I'd be on disability for the rest of my life. What did I do? I created Extendivite, a garlic and cayenne mix of 7 herbs which rebuilt my heart and gave me back my life. For over 17 years now, I have made this formula available to you, so you don't have to suffer the same thing I did. clean your blocked arteries and strengthen your heart and boost your natural immune system. I'm 60 years old now, and I still work every day. To get your Extendivite, call 1-877-928-8822. That's 1-877-928-8822, or visit heartdrop.com. Extendivite is only $69.95 for a 2-month supply of either capsules or liquid.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
Understanding your credit score is the first step towards managing and improving it. This is Charlie Sundstrom with your Van Dyke Mortgage Minute. The most influential component of your credit score is your payment history. Almost equally as important is the amount you owe on credit accounts. Also impacting your score, but to a lesser degree, are the length of time you've utilized your credit, the number of new accounts, credit inquiries, and your various types of credit accounts. To help achieve or maintain a healthy credit score, have a system set up to assure your bills are always paid on time. Don't max out your cards. It's better to have a high credit limit with a low balance. Never close old accounts. The age of these can actually help your credit score. But don't be afraid to use your credit. You need several accounts in order to have a credit score. Just keep the corresponding payments within your means. For your mortgage pre-approval and refi needs, start by visiting VanDykeMortgage.com.
Corporate NMLS 3035. Van Dyke Mortgage is an equal housing lender. Charlie Sundstrom, NMLS 134251.
Did you know that you can listen to and watch Free Talk Live during our live show 7 days a week from 7 to 10 p.m. Eastern via our studio cam at cam.freetalklive.com? Not only that, but you can also chat with other listeners at the same time. Do I need to mention that both the studio cam and chat room are totally free? Outside of Free Talk Live's live hours, you won't see a cam feed, but will hear audio from the Liberty Radio Network. So listen, watch, and chat all free at cam.freetalklive.com. That's cam.freetalklive.com. When I found the Free State Project, I knew it was the key to achieving liberty in my lifetime. It's awesome to be surrounded by like-minded, freedom-loving activists who've moved here to New Hampshire. From politics to civil disobedience, we have it all. Where I came from, it felt that no matter what I did, liberty was dying. Perhaps you feel the same way? Call 888-377-2515 now to learn more about the Free State Project. That's 888-377-2515 or visit freestateproject.org.
Help get LRN.FM into more ears. Visit promote.lrn.fm for a free bumper sticker, flyers, banners, graphics, and more. Promote.lrn.fm.
Hey, it's Free Talk Live. Join us on the radio here. The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. 855-450-3733. Get online at all? You need to protect yourself. That internet service provider of yours may very well be one of the groups that are violating your privacy on the internet. You can take steps. One of those steps is to join ProXPN at proxpn.com. Use code FTL50. You'll get 50% off their regular monthly price if you get the annual account. And why do you want to do this? Well, they're a virtual private network. That means they encrypt your data connection, and most importantly, they keep no logs of your activities whatsoever. So it's secure. And you can help protect yourself by taking this step by going to proxpn.com. Whether you've got Windows, Mac, iOS, Android, or Linux, they got support for you. So go and get started over there right now at proxpn.com. They've got more servers than ever before, giving you greater speed and security. Use the internet the way it was intended to be used. Take back the privacy that is your right at proxpn.com. with code FTL50 to get that 50% off their regular monthly price when you get the annual account. By the way, that discount is good for the lifetime of your account. So when you're ready to renew for year number 2, you get the same awesome deal. So again, it's code FTL50 at proxpn.com. Let's go to your calls, your thoughts. I want to come back to the idea of taking human life, Mark, being sort of antithetical or generally against what human nature is, because we disagree on this point. So we'll go to Jeff listening in Illinois. You're on Free Talk Live. Hello, Jeff.
Hi, you guys. Thanks for mentioning that the support for the jihadists and stuff like that, because if they're doing both sides, it's all about the central banks. That's one thing.
You're talking about how the government is supporting various different sides fighting one another in the Middle East. We were discussing earlier that.
Yes,
Okay.
they have to have an enemy. Since they've like killed all the other enemies off, they have to create a new enemy, and then this is why they have to constantly do things, both to arm the other side and agitate them also.
Right.
Because it would be considered treason normally, wouldn't it, to arm the enemy and all this stuff? It'd be like selling firewater to the Native Americans long ago or something like that, in rifles. And but like for example, in North Korea, we always hear them villainized, but they don't have a central bank. The countries that don't have it, there's only a few, and there's fewer than there were, that don't have a central bank are the ones that we hear vilified in our media.
North Korea has no central bank?
This is my understanding of it. They're broke, but they're not in debt, maybe. You know what I'm saying? And
That's
the
an
bankers
interesting
want them
claim.
to have a central bank, So that's one consideration. So you look at it, who's behind this, who's benefiting from this, and it's not just people in the war industry. It's a whole conglomerate, and it has a lot to do with banking. And basically, they want more than just money. They want also power. They want to. They have certain objectives, and you could call them the New World Order, Luciferians.
Okay,
or whatever you
so
want.
before you go on, a quick check on Wikipedia. The Central Bank of the Democratic People's Republic of Korea is North Korea's central bank, established in 1947. It issues the North Korean won. And sorry, but they do have a central bank.
They're still in effect there? Okay,
Yeah.
I was hearing they did not have a central bank.
I'd also, Russia's kind of like the bad guy these days, and they've certainly got a central bank. I've heard this conjecture before, and it's interesting. But, I don't know. I haven't been able to sort of back it up.
And the conjecture is what exactly?
Well, that essentially if you don't have a central bank, that you're a threat to the countries that do, because central banks are weakened nations. And if you don't have a central bank, your nation will grow stronger. So the central banks jump on and destroy countries that don't have a central bank in order to prevent them from growing powerful.
Henry Ford said, if you put 50 of the world's wealthiest bankers in jail, you'd end all wars. And so we have to figure out how to do that.
It's certainly true that the central bank empowers countries to go to war. There's no doubt that the central bank makes countries poorer because of that. If you're taking wealth from the people by printing currency and then transferring that wealth to the military-industrial complex, and then they go and blow the wealth up by bombing other places.
But then they
in the
have
world.
to pay interest on the borrowed money in the first place.
The government does.
The government pays. Currently, the United States government pays interest to the Federal Reserve if they're still charging the U.S. interest, and I think it's a small amount. They pay interest on the money that they borrow. The Treasury Department borrows from the Federal Reserve and then pays interest on it, and that's where you have this gigantic debt from. People think the United States government is out there borrowing and issues its own money and is borrowing more or whatever. How could it possibly do that? If it wanted to, if it needed more money, it would just print more money. Well, that's because the United States government doesn't have its own money. The only money that the U.S. government issues are quarters. Maybe possibly those U.S. president $1 pieces. I think the Sacagaweas are U.S. mint, and I think the president ones are Federal Reserve. But it doesn't. The biggest denomination they have is $1.
Jeff, any other thoughts? Go ahead.
Thanks a lot. Okay, well, first, one thing is that the Federal Reserve and the IRS are both part of the Communist Manifesto. They're both planks of the Communist Manifesto. And so as far as treason goes, thanks for the opportunity, they are just having those in effect is communism is subversive, and I'm calling a communist revolution a national foreclosure, because at some point the government won't be able to pay the interest on the debt, and so that's what
happens?
Some people claim that it's already occurred. 1938, the United States government went bankrupt, and whatever. We've got something else going on now.
Right, but when they can't pay the interest on the debt, at some point, I guess it should be possible to mathematically calculate when they would just try to.
But what's going to happen? Is the Federal Reserve going to take their assets? Come on.
This is the part I don't get, because the politicians want their power. The bankers really don't have it. The guy with the gun is the one that has the power. So if the local selectman tells the police officer, go arrest that guy, the police officer is truly the one with power because he's the one with the gun. The police officer turns around and says, no, I'm not going to do it, and if you try to do it, I'm going to shoot you. Then ultimately it's the guy with the gun. So the government at this point is the guy with the gun. If the government says, I'm going to pay off this debt, so the United States government says, we're paying off the debt to the Federal Reserve. They mint one $18 trillion coin. They make it out of platinum just to be fancy. And then they send it to the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve at that point is paid, and there's nothing they can do.
There you go.
And so you don't need a revolution. The government doesn't need to fall. The United States government at that point could just then begin issuing new currency.
Right. The strong dollar.
Well, they call it whatever they want. They sure could, and that's what would occur. But it would be undermining to their power. But when if you're a powerful politician or bureaucrat, you're certainly not going to let your power be taken away from you by some communist revolution.
Lincoln and but the thing is, the bankers are the communists, the central bankers. I mean, when I say communists, it's the fifth plank of the Communist Manifesto, and all the rest of it is just window dressing around them. And Lincoln and JFK printed interest-free money. Look what happened to those guys.
Thanks for the call, Jeff. I appreciate hearing from you. You can join us here toll-free, 855-450-FREE.
JFK printed interest-free money?
855-450-3733. That's his claim. I don't know if there's any truth to it.
Lincoln had greenbacks, but I mean, that's because there was value-backed currency at the time. The central bankers didn't have that much power at that point. The central bankers had been eviscerated by Jackson.
Join us here. Just because someone makes a claim on the radio doesn't mean it's true. There's a lot of claims on the web that say that there is no North Korean central bank. So I can understand why people think that. Who knows what the truth is? We don't live there.
Hey, Berkey Guy here. Are you still drinking unfiltered tap water? Does your water contain chlorine or fluoride? Will you have drinkable water in an emergency? The Berkey Guy is here to help you remove these and other potential contaminants from your water, thus helping you drink clean, purified water. We offer Berkey water purification systems at the lowest available prices online. Don't go another moment without a Berkey system. Over the last 10 years, we've helped thousands drink clean, purified water. Join them by visiting goberkey.com or call me, the Berkey Guy, at 877-886-3653. That's 877-886-3653.
We use mobile devices right against our bodies every day, but growing scientific evidence has emerged showing serious health risks associated with exposure to EMF radiation emitted from these devices. The solution is Defender Shield, the most effective mobile radiation shielding ever developed. Defender Shield blocks virtually 100% of EMF radiation from cell phones, tablets, and laptops, and starts at just $64.99. Buy now at DefenderShield.com. For 10% off, use promo code GCN. DefenderShield.com, the worldwide leader in mobile radiation shielding.
An amateur sailor has announced his plans to sail around the world to decrease awareness of important global issues. 29-year-old Michael Gilmer will cover approximately 28,000 nautical miles over 3 months, all the while drawing attention away from famine afflicting several African nations, revolution in the Middle East, flooding in Thailand, and economic instability across 5 continents.
The goal here is to really make people think about a young, overconfident on an expensive boat, rather than the pressing matters of substance that actually affect people's lives.
As Gilmer set off on his journey Thursday, something was happening in Washington. In local news, a cute 8-year-old is beginning to realize how much better she is than ugly girls.
Since I'm cute and they're not, that means that they're not as good as me.
In other news, a slaughterhouse worker is told to stop naming them all. And sure, an area man can watch your cat while his life is falling apart, no problem. You have just participated in a large-scale psychological research study. Please fill out the attached liability waiver and send it to theonion.com/newsbeat.
This Your Family Today tip is brought to you by Nesquik. Try Nesquik 4-packs, perfect for lunches and great for kids on the go. Look for it in the juice aisle. Snack time is a great chance to sneak extra calcium into your child's diet without making him feel like he's eating something he doesn't want. Serve up dairy-rich foods like smoothies, flavored milk, frozen yogurt, and string cheese. He'll love the treat, and you'll love knowing how good it is for him. For more tips like these, visit us at parenthood.com/yourfamilytoday.
LRN.FM is proud to announce our official listening apps for Android and iOS devices. Now you can easily tune into our streams anywhere, anytime on your smartphone or tablet. Just visit apps.lrn.fm or search for LRN.FM in the Android or Apple app stores. Please download, rate it 5 stars, then share the link on social media, and let your friends and family know how you're listening to LRN.FM. Download it now, free at apps.lrn.fm. That's apps.lrn.fm.
What if the key to achieving liberty in your lifetime was to move together with others who think like you? Liberty activists are joining the Free State Project, which is over 85% of the way to its goal of 20,000 participants. And they're already making the move to New Hampshire. The successes are piling up and are proving the Free State Project is a real movement and no longer just a great idea. When you're planning your move, consider Keene. Keene is famous for its civil disobedience and non-cooperation, and there's plenty of political opportunity as well. If you're a regular reader of freekeene.com, you know there's a lot going on in Keene. Keene is the liberty media capital of the world, with television, talk radio, and more, all originating here. Though it's more than just activism, with regular social events each week. See what's happening at freekeene.com and get connected with video, audio, free books, a forum, and activist tools you can download and use in your area at freekeene.com. That's freekeene.com.
This is the Liberty Radio Network, broadcasting the latest liberty-oriented audio content 24 hours a day at LRN.FM.
This is Free Talk Live. You're invited here. It's the live Sunday edition of the program. You can join us at 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. And also Skype into the show. Skype username is LRN.FM. With you in studio tonight, you've got Ian.
And Mark.
And also want to invite you to check out the Free State Project. Your best chance at achieving liberty in your lifetime is to get together with other people who think like you do. I've got some pretty big news. I've been authorized to announce this. This is breaking news. I don't think this is public anywhere yet. Pete Eyre and Amanda, the artist formerly known as Amanda Billy Rock, now Amanda Johnson, are coming back to the Shire. And not just for a visit. So for those of you longtime listeners of Free Talk Live, you may remember Pete. He's one of the he's co-hosted the show with us a number of times. He has been living in Mexico with his partner. I think they had a partnership ceremony of some sort together, Amanda, and they've been down there. I don't know, a year or something like that.
Something. Yeah.
It feels like a year. I don't know exactly when they went down there, but it was a little while back. And well, they're coming back. They're coming back to the Shire. I've got the email from him here today. I will use his own words if I can pull that up. He says, while both Cozumel and Acapulco had their own pros and cons,
I really liked Acapulco when I was there.
We both decided that on the balance, the Shire is the most appealing for us now due to the size and depth of the community, our ease of using cryptocurrency, ability to see families, etc. So after several months, if not an entire year down in Mexico, they've made the decision to pull up and come on back up to New Hampshire, which, of course, both Pete and Amanda are Free State Project participants. They had lived here for a time. That's actually when they met, was when they were here in New Hampshire. And now I'm super excited to have them both back.
You sound like it. Yeah.
Yeah, they're both they're really two killer activists. I mean, Pete's one of the founders of copblock.org. He's an amazing guy, and Amanda's pretty great as well. They both do a great job doing outreach activities and really communicating effectively the ideas of liberty. I
just want to see Pete again.
I think Pete's one of the best communicators of the ideas of freedom that I've ever encountered. So what a great I think endorsement of the Free State Project, of the community that we have here that is second to none. There's nothing like it around the entire globe. Yes, I understand the drive that people have to leave the United States. I get it. I really do. Mark, you've been down south. You went to Belize, you went to Acapulco, and you ultimately determined that this was the place to stay.
Well, I've taken a look. As far as the place to stay, I wonder to myself exactly what's perfect. And I think different things are right for different people. But I would say that if you're really into the ideas of liberty, you're not going to find people who are going to talk to you about those. You're not going to find a community of people who are interested in the same things that you're interested in.
In Belize or Acapulco or wherever.
You may be able to find more freedom by doing what they call the international citizen thing, the permanent traveler thing, where you have your business incorporated in one country, you live in another country, you have your residency, your citizenship in another country. You've got you use the different places in the world. You've got your bank account in the Cayman Islands, and your company's incorporated in Belize, and just you do all these things and use these mechanisms to benefit yourself. I think you may find more freedom that way, meaning that you have the state breathing
a lower
down.
tax burden.
Tax burden is huge, and then you have to look at the social freedoms. And I think that mostly if you go to some other country where you're making a couple $3,000 a month, $5,000 a month on the internet, that's going to go a long ways in a lot of countries. So freedom and money, they tend to go hand in hand in many ways. So yeah, I think you can have more freedom, but I would recommend to those people, try living in New Hampshire half the year and see. I mean, weather in New Hampshire 6 months out of the year, bar none, some of the best in the world as far as I can tell.
This month's been incredible. I mean, we've had a really warm November.
I figure God cuts us a break for winter. Like we get something extra special for summer and late spring and early fall, on to when the leaves are falling.
Look, you have to decide what's right for you. I mean, obviously, it's whatever your priorities are, what's important. I mean, that makes sense. Okay, so if the priority is to not live in a cold place, then don't come to New Hampshire because it does get cold here. And the most important time of the year politically is in the dead of winter.
It's the truth. If you want to be relevant in the political process in New Hampshire, you got to put up with it. And that's just it.
Yeah, and that's I think it's a good thing that it happens in the dead of winter because there's a bunch of snowbirds who are not here at that time of year.
It's a state of 1.4 million. You cut out however many people don't vote or don't participate. Call that, I don't know, 90%, and then you I'm talking about local elections.
Yeah, the municipal election this year in Keene was 17%, which was high.
Yeah, 17% is big. That's I imagine most places in the United States that would be phenomenal if they got that kind of turnout. So New Hampshire tends to be that way, but when it's in the winter, that's just a whole bunch of people, especially the older people. Older people tend to vote. Just a whole bunch of them aren't living there anymore.
I wonder what the breakdown is. How many people, I never even thought about that before, of the 1.4 million people in New Hampshire, how many of them leave for the wintertime? 100,000? 200,000?
I imagine it's a great deal of them. I bet a lot of them take absentee ballots with them.
Yeah.
But, there's some elections you just can't vote absentee in. You can't vote in your town meeting absentee.
You have to physically be there.
You have to physically be there. You can't vote in the primary election, the 4-year primary that's New Hampshire's known for, because they never know exactly which day it's going to occur.
So wherever you are, whether it's in the United States or outside, yeah, there might be a handful of libertarians. But what if you had more libertarians around than you could possibly get to know? What if there were so many libertarians, they didn't even get along with one another? That's what happens here in New Hampshire. There's so many of them here. We got over 1,500 here now as part of the Free State Project as early movers. I think it's like 1,700 now, close to early movers. And there's thousands more that are signed up.
Don't forget the Friends of the Free State Project. You're at 4,000 at
yeah,
that
if you
point.
include a couple thousand Friends of the Free State Project.
The suggestion that 4,000 people are going to think alike homogeneously is ridiculous, especially libertarians, people who have opinions on just about every subject.
Right. But the community is unprecedented. It's amazing, and that's what has drawn Pete Eyre, the founder of Cop Block, to come back. And he's planning on arriving in December, so I'm hoping we're going to get him back on the show. I'm crossing my fingers on that one. I don't have any confirmation he's going to come back on as a co-host, but I will certainly invite him to do so. So I'm super jazzed about that.
You sound it.
Yep. So join us here. Our toll-free number is 855-450-FREE because it's a huge endorsement of the successes we've already had here. And remember, the Free State Project official move hasn't even started yet. So all the things that have happened here, all the community that's been created, the great political organizations that are doing hard work in the trenches here, it's all happened before the official move has even begun. I mean, we've created the best libertarian community by far, and it's only going to get better from here out.
I'd also like to point out, we were just talking about on the air earlier in the show how the United States is slipping down the world freedom charts. But that has to do with the federal government, and it's an aggregate of the states. If you consider that New Hampshire is in the top 4 freest states in the Union and likely rising, you see that in New York holding position 50 and California holding position 49. They're dragging us down on this world freedom chart. If New Hampshire as a place was compared to other countries as places, it would be significantly higher than the United States. It'd probably be in the top 5 freest places on the planet, or certainly top 10.
I wish someone would do that study. I think that'd be
been trying to get that done. There's just evidence towards it, but I can't make it happen.
All right, so you can join us here. You can talk about whatever happens to be on your mind. Toll-free number 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. By the way, it's also worth mentioning that Pete and Amanda are doing a new project called The Daily Decrypt, and it is a sort of a close to 5-minute newscast thing where they're focusing on cryptocurrency-related news and technology news, and they're doing it as a video series. So check that out online at I don't know if they have the website for it, but just Google The Daily Decrypt, and it'll come up. So it's a new project of theirs that I hope they will continue on with as they make the move back to New Hampshire as part of the Free State Project. Now, let's talk about those kids from the religious organizations. They apparently are, what was it, brattier than the kids from the secular world. 855-450-FREE is our toll-free number. 855-450-3733. You can join us here. This is Free Talk Live. Currency is too important a thing to be left in the hands of government bureaucrats, especially when billions of dollars can be created with the swipe of a pen. Overstock.com supports the cryptocurrency movement because it returns the power of an inflation-proof form of money to the people, where it belongs. Did you know that you can use Bitcoin to pay for anything Overstock.com sells while enjoying free shipping on orders of 0.211 Bitcoin or more? If you support freedom and the cryptocurrency movement, you should support Overstock.com.
You can control your health care with Liberty Health Share.
Liberty Health Share is like-minded people coming together to share medical costs, which saves money.
You don't even have to pay for procedures that violate your conscience.
Because we all share the same values.
Join the movement of people who share in medical costs and change the way you pay for your health care forever.
Go to libertyhealthshare.org to find out more.
Liberty Health Share.
Together, we're changing healthcare for good. libertyhealthshare.org.
So you've got to take a state construction license exam or certification. Can't decide on what books or what chapters to study? Discover right now how you can eliminate unnecessary books and wasted study time. At contractorexam.com, our study materials zero in on state-required test topics in an effective, multiple-choice format. So whether you're a plumber, electrician, general contractor, or other construction-related trade, contractorexam.com will help get you prepared. Visit us at www.contractorexam.com today.
A lot of people's lives and bodies are out of balance. AlkaVision Plasma pH drops optimize pH level and get rid of harmful waste and acid. Just a few drops in water restores vibrance and energy and gets you back in balance. Now order 2 bottles and get $10 off your order. Sign up for monthly auto shipping and save 25%. Call 800-518-7615 or visit alkavision.com. Alkalize your body. Supercharge your health at alkavision.com.
Since time began, tyrants have taken aim at personal liberties. Now there's a movie that aims back.
The government has no more right to tell us what to put in our bodies than they have to take our guns or tell us what books we can read.
6 drug police were eaten by bears while raiding a marijuana farm.
On your knees, you dirty hippies! Jesus. On your knees! What's the problem, officer?
Today, many cops who enforce pot laws do so only because it provides them with cushy jobs, good benefits, and a chance to push people around.
I was an undercover narcotics officer. The drug war is nothing but a farce.
The Second Amendment says you got to keep you and your gat intact.
Guns and Weed, The Road to Freedom. A film by Michael W. Dean and Nima Vadadi.
DVD available now at gunsandweed.com or on Amazon. That's gunsandweed.com. Makes the perfect gift. Remember, that's gunsandweed.com.
The 3 most important things you can do for Free Talk Live are 1. Share 1 episode a week on Facebook or in some other social networking site. 2. Buy the things you buy online through shop.freetalklive.com. 3. Give $5 a month to the AMP program. You likely buy all kinds of things online. Amazon is the largest online retailer. You can get what you need at the same prices with free Super Saver shipping by going to shop.freetalklive.com. Please do your online shopping at shop.freetalklive.com.
This is your Roberts & Roberts Brokerage Daily Precious Metals Update. In early trading Friday, gold is off $4 at $1,083 per ounce. Silver is down 7 cents at $14.28 per ounce. Bitcoin is trading at $332 US. Silver seems like a real bargain now, the lowest it's been in 6 years. Get some silver. Call Roberts & Roberts Brokerage today at 800-874-9760 or visit us online at rrbi.co.
You can sign up to receive the latest about the Liberty Radio Network via our email updates at updates.lrn.fm. That's updates.lrn.fm.
Hey, it's Free Talk Live. You can join us here toll free. Even in these remaining moments, we have enough time for you. Our number is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. Joining you in the studio, it's Ian.
And Mark.
And don't forget, you can join us online at freetalklive.com. Let's say you want to support the show. Great way to do it. Obviously, share us on social media if you're on the social media. If you're not on the social media, you can just tell someone about Free Talk Live, like old style. Call them up or talk to them in real life. That's one way to do it. Another way is to support the show through the AMP program at amp.freetalklive.com, where you'll get some perks in return for $5 a month of supporting the show. Thank you to everybody who has amped Free Talk Live over the last few weeks, as we just launched a brand new website. It's hopefully easier than ever to get involved in the AMP program. And there's something that I want to announce, but I can't do it yet. We're going to be adding a new method of payment for AMP if everything goes smoothly, but unfortunately things are not going smoothly behind the scenes with that. So I'm crossing my fingers on that, but we do have you in mind, those of you who want to AMP the show anonymously, and we're working on ways to figure out how to exactly to implement that. So stay tuned for that. In the meantime, if you're willing to use your credit card or PayPal account, go to amp.freetalklive.com and you'll get perks like the AMP-only Facebook group and more. amp.freetalklive.com. Mark, you've got a story from The Guardian about children and their behavior, or rather their misbehavior and their religion.
Yeah, I wonder myself whether this is some kind of just transparent attack on religion, but let's go ahead anyway. It's from theguardian.com. Religious children are meaner than their secular counterparts, a study finds. Children from religious families are less kind and more punitive than those from non-religious households, according to a new study. Academics from 7 universities across the world studied Christian, Muslim, and non-religious children to test the relationship between religion and morality.
So some religions, not all.
Yeah, that's actually addressed a little later in the article.
Okay.
That the claim is basically there just weren't enough of the other religions in their, I think it's 1,200 children that they studied to be considered scientifically significant. They found that religious belief is a negative influence on children's altruism. Altruism is almost a subjective term, right? Like they decide what altruism means and whether it's good or not. But overall, our findings contradict the common sense and popular assumption that children from religious households are more altruistic and kind towards others, said the authors of the Negative Association Between Religiousness and Children's Altruism Across the World study published this week in Current Biology. More generally, they call into question whether religion is vital for moral development, supporting the idea that secularism of moral discourse will not reduce human kindness. In fact, it will do just the opposite. This I completely agree with. I don't think that you need religion to be a good person. If you need religion to be a good person, you are a horrifying individual.
Well, right, because life will present you with the opportunities to learn how to treat people right, and that if you treat people, as they're your fellow humans deserving of respect, then they will treat you back in the same way generally, and that's the way that people help one another, because it's better for us to help each other rather than to fight with one another. I mean, it's basic things that you can learn over time that have nothing to do with the belief in a deity, although I do have such a belief. I'm a panentheist.
The most of the 1,200 children were aged almost 1,200 children aged between 5 and 12 in the U.S., Canada, China, Jordan, Turkey, and South Africa participated in the study. Almost 24% were Christian, 43% Muslim, and 27% non-religious. So Muslims super represented in this study. The numbers of Jewish, Buddhist, Hindu, agnostic, and other children were too small to be statistically valid. They were asked to choose stickers and then told that there were not enough to go around for all the children in their school to see if they would share. They were also shown a film of children pushing and bumping one another to gauge their responses.
How do you share a sticker? I guess tear it in half or something like that?
Give it to somebody else.
I see.
You can live without a sticker.
I gotcha.
The findings robustly demonstrate that children from households identifying as either of the two major world religions, Christianity and Islam, were less altruistic than children from non-religious households.
Hold on. So it was sharing a sticker, and what was the other thing? They watched a movie of people fighting?
Yeah, people bumping into each other, and then gauged reaction.
I see.
And they claim here robustly demonstrated that children from households identifying as either Muslim or Christian were less altruistic.
All right.
Older children, usually those with a longer exposure to religion, exhibited the greatest negative relations. The study also found that religiosity affects children's punitive tendencies. Now, this makes sense to me. Religion is the one that I was raised in, the Christianity, is all about judging yourself, your own actions, other people's actions. I mean, if you're judging your own actions, you're judging other people's actions. That's sinful. Right? They've even got a term for it.
Repent.
Well, there's another term. Like, I don't even know. Repent, I guess you could be sorry for something you did, and you can repent without, sin. But sin's sort of, it's a...
Well, the vans the van and the RVs that I've seen in my life that have repent written on the side, that's an order yelling at you, the reader, right? That's not, I'm repenting in the van. Right. That's a message to everyone else.
Yes, it's a suggestion that everybody else repent. Yeah. But when you're looking at these religions, and I'm seeing that sort of sin as it's known in Christianity is this kind of fake disease for which the cure comes from their religion, right? Like, we've got the cure for this disease we've created.
You can have it for a 10% tithe.
Well, they don't. Nobody does that.
No, they don't.
Very few people tithe to that level, and that's fine by me. I don't really care how you find your relationship with God. I just think it's sort of interesting here, some of the stuff that they're talking about. So I wouldn't doubt for a second that the punitive tendencies of children that are from religious households frequently appear to be more judgmental of others' actions. It said. Now, judgmental can be good or bad, right? Like, you can sit around and judge and say that's bad behavior, and you're going to learn from that. That can be a good thing if in fact it is bad behavior. Sometimes the bad behavior is, not necessarily bad behavior, and that can just result in, snotty people. I guess it's kind of how I see it. Muslim children judged interpersonal harm as more mean than children from Christian families, with non-religious children the least judgmental. Muslim children demanded harsher punishment than those from Christian or non-religious homes. So if you found somebody misbehaving, I guess the harsher punishments came from the Muslims. At the same time, the report said the religious parents were more likely than others to consider their children to be more empathetic and more sensitive to the plight of others.
Even when the evidence shown that they weren't.
Well, I don't know if the evidence, they had a chance to view the evidence at that point. They hadn't seen that.
No, I didn't mean that the parents would have known what the evidence was. So the parents thought one thing about their kids, but the reality was different. Is that what that's what they're saying here?
Sure. I imagine if you find out the parents will of any stripe will constantly err on the side of their children are better than other people's kids. The report pointed out that 5.8 billion humans, representing 84% of the worldwide population, identify as religious. While it is generally accepted that religion contours people's moral judgments and pro-social behavior, the relation between religion and morality is a contentious one, it said. The report was a welcome antidote to the presumption that religion is a prerequisite of morality.
For compassion or morality, sure.
Yeah. So that's basically the meat of it all. According to the respected Pew Research Center, which examines attitudes towards and practices of faith, most people around the world think it's necessary to believe in God to be a moral person. In the U.S., 53% of adults think that faith in God is necessary to morality, that's figure ridiculous. Which rose to 7 of 10 adults in the Middle East and 3/4 of adults in 6 African countries surveyed by Pew. That, I do agree, is nonsense. You don't need to believe in God to have a moral compass. If so, why aren't all the atheists in the world, and there is a pretty good percentage of them, why aren't they all in prison?
For doing immoral acts and hurting people or robbing or whatever.
The chapels in prison are full on every evening of the week that the prisoners are allowed to go to chapel. They're full. There are very few atheists that I met while in my time in prison. I didn't meet very many. I met a few.
As a former atheist, I have, known a number of atheists, and many of them are very, very moral people.
When you were an atheist, what kept you from hurting people?
Empathy?
At the very least, you have a moral code in libertarianism, right? I mean, liberty is
you don't need a code. You don't need a code to know to not hurt people. It's just inherent in being a human being. I guess this comes back to the conversation I said I wanted to have, but we didn't really do it. In the military, they have to train the humanity out of you. They have to demonize the enemy, keep you separated from them, and that way it's easier for someone who is generally not, someone is loath to take the life of another human otherwise.
Chimpanzees attack other troops of chimpanzees and kill everybody involved. There's no big deal. I'm sorry. Violence is inherent in most primates. Yes, you can point to the bonobos, but I suspect you don't know anything about them.
We've risen above a lot of that. We'll see you tomorrow night.
We humans have risen above that.
Online in the meantime at freetalklive.com.
Excuse me, is this where I get a license to start a new business?
I wouldn't be hasty. You have to get a license to go out of business, too,
Oh, well, look, I've invented this little anti-gravity machine, see?
Oh, is that why you're walking 2 inches above the floor?
Oh, yes, it's very comfortable. It saves on shoe leather.
Yeah, well, you have to fill out these forms and report to the Human Services Department of Manpower Orientation and register with the Fair Employment Practice Commission, the Wage and Hour Division of the Employment Standards Administration, the State Sales and Income Tax Division, the Internal Revenue Service, and the Social Security Administration of the Department of Health, Education, and Welfare, and, of course, OSHA.
OSHA? I thought that was a little town in Wisconsin.
You'll find out. Say, floating around like that could be dangerous. Have you checked with the Consumer Product Safety Commission?
Well, not yet.
Come to think of it, you actually are flying, aren't you? Look, you need to go over to the Federal Aviation Administration and the Transportation...
It's very hard to get anything done these days if you're in business, but free enterprise built this country. Think what could happen if we don't keep it free. A public service of this station and the Center for the Defense of Free Enterprise, Bellevue, Washington.
Besides, we just can't have people floating about unregulated,
Are you a political activist who does things that the government might not like? Then this free ebook may save your life. Rats is your guide to protecting yourself against snitches, informers, informants, agents provocateur, narcs, finks, and similar vermin. Rats was written by OG libertarian Claire Wolfe. Rats is a short book, easy to read, and available free in many formats. Download Rats free at rats-nosnitch.com. That's rats-nosnitch.com.
If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com. You can get emailed announcements and participate in contests via our email updates list. Plus, we have a Twitter account that you can follow and a Facebook page where you can become a fan. So visit news.freetalklive.com to get news about Free Talk Live as soon as it's announced and the way you want it delivered at news.freetalklive.com. That's news.freetalklive.com.
This is the Liberty Radio Network, broadcasting the latest liberty-oriented audio content 24 hours a day at LRN.FM.
What if the key to achieving liberty in your lifetime was to move together with others who think like you? Liberty activists are joining the Free State Project, which is over 85% of the way to its goal of 20,000 participants. And they're already making the move to New Hampshire. The successes are piling up and are proving the Free State Project is a real movement and no longer just a great idea.